It's like 69, but not as good.
I know you 10.
Not quite as good.
Do we get
I don't know why that's funny.
Was that recording when
I don't know.
I really hope
Yes, we were.
Yeah. Yeah. Hot thing.
All things appropriate because it's 85 in February.
It's supposed to be a 90-something next week.
Oh, man.
Come on with it.
This is the time of the year I just quit paying attention to the date. Well, what is the day of the of February? What is
25th?
25th.
25th? February 25th. Okay. 85 degrees, February 25th. And on February 27th, it's going to be 90, 91.
Yeah.
Yeehaw! I really hope that that's not a precursor to another terrible summer. But anyways, on that dismal note,
Yep.
it can only go up from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You know what they say, if you don't like it, stick around, it'll change.
Yeah,
right?
buddy.
Welcome.
I mean, we haven't got to the rainy season yet, so.
We'll have
The 2 days of rain.
2 days
Yeah.
of rain and then 115.
But in that 2 days, we may get 10 inches, so.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll end up flooding. I wish it'd stop raining. Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. We've got another special episode with our elected leaders with us tonight. We're joined by Charles Applewhite and Barney Graham.
Yeah.
So
That is I.
it'll be Constable and Assistant?
Barney.
Just Constable and Barney.
Barney.
Okay. We're gonna dive down a rabbit trail with these two gentlemen.
Oh, I'm sure we're going to be on several. It's like we can start with the purple dinosaur, but it's not really the purple dinosaur for you. Is it Barney or is it Barney from like Andy Griffith?
I'm the third.
You're the third.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. We don't even want to get into my middle name because it's a whole other thing. So let's just, I mean,
I mean, dude,
it's like worse than Barney. So,
Now,
you know.
now we have to know.
yes.
You brought it up, man.
Yeah, we got to know.
You can't dangle that carrot out in front of us and say,
Hey, don't worry. We only have like 27 listeners. So
Okay, good.
yeah, it won't
I
get
mean,
around.
if it's only half as good as Barney, then it's going to be like awesome.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
ready.
Anguish.
Anguish.
Whoa.
You should have been a wrestler.
Dude, I'm
Yeah.
wow.
I didn't even know
The
that.
third.
Okay.
So Barney Anguish Graham the third.
Oh, wow.
What is your pedigree? Where do you? Where's your family lineage?
Scottish.
Same.
So the story I got, because I asked, right, once I was old enough to know what my name was, like, I can't even say that, right? It was supposed to be Anguish when Barney Sr. was born, whenever, 18 whatever, and it was supposed to be Angus, and they misspelled it. And
It got changed.
that's
and
just what it
stuck
is.
with you. So it's not like anguish, like bad shit. It's like
You don't know.
oh well, I don't cross Barney. Man.
Charles, why are you laughing?
You forget I've seen you pissed off.
Yeah, we've known each other a long time, so yeah.
Well, it's better than my Scottish name is Geddes, and if you look it up, Geddes is fish.
Fish.
I'm like, okay, I'll take anguish over fish.
I was going more towards line like get us another drink.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that works.
valid.
Server of men.
Yeah. Whoa.
Hold on a second.
Take that how you want to.
Takes on a whole new meaning in this era.
Yeah. You got to be careful with that
We
one.
started off talking about 69 and 79, and here we are.
Yep.
Whiskey
Serving
Bros.
Man, we're descending fast.
Server of men.
Yeah.
No, that's just
a
one
podcast
of us
name?
now.
Is that
You can have that if you want it.
That's the episode name? No, we don't edit on this show. We don't edit. Charles, do you have a cool middle name?
Nope, just basic Bryant.
Okay.
Bryant.
Bryant.
Why is this?
Yeah, it's way low.
That's why. Okay, can you talk in your mic again?
It's Bryant.
There it
Check it out.
is.
Okay, we
Yeah.
hear him now. I had him muted.
Yeah.
Had him muted.
bad.
What a bunch of rookies.
I could hear him.
Yeah, no, I could hear him. It's just not through the headphones.
What is your lineage?
German, Dutch, Irish, and Cherokee.
You're an angry person.
He's a mutt like me.
Yeah. Wait, you have Cherokee?
No, I'm just a mutt. I
Okay.
just everything.
Okay.
I think there's even some African American in there. I mean, obviously,
Let's
if
not
you
ask where it shows
taste
up.
my barbecue, it's obviously got African American roots.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take that. We'll stick with that.
I don't even know. I don't even know where to go with that.
I don't either.
Yeah, right.
That's a conversation ender right there.
It is.
Yeah.
Transitioning
Thanks for coming,
into-
guys.
Thanks for having us.
Transitioning into our main event tonight, we're going to talk about your county constables and what the hell
the hell do they
a county
do?
constable does, because it's like nobody knows.
And I've been the precinct 3 constable since took office June of 18.
Okay.
I won a special election. Of course,
So-
Nice.
constables. There's 2 elected law enforcement officials in the state of Texas: sheriff and constables.
Okay, so that's it. And constables go by precinct.
Yes.
Too. So there's
Sheriff is countywide.
yeah.
In the state of Texas, you can have 1 up to 8 precincts. And all that's based on your population, of
Okay.
course. And Wise County has 4.
Okay.
And that could always change. That would have to be up to the county commissioners, the commissioners court, if they want to add another one.
Okay.
Should the population get to that point, we're not anywhere close to that right now. But yeah, I won. It was a special election, and won it in a runoff.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
and
Who was your opponent?
there was 4 opponents.
Oh man. Okay.
I was the 4th one.
yeah.
You want names?
I mean, constable's pretty popular.
I mean, it's
have
it's public
4
knowledge.
positions.
I guess so.
I kind of want to know what a constable does.
I feel bad because I've kind of overlooked this spot now, and
honestly.
there's
Yeah.
4 people running for it, so it's pretty
Yeah.
sought after.
But
So-
before we get too deep in what one does, let's take it back a little bit because we'll stick with how we ran.
Are we
this
still
whole thing.
talking about why Doc is part African American?
Yeah,
we still-
We got to get back into that. No, tell us a little bit about your story. You know how you got into law enforcement and all that jazz.
Okay.
Working up to now.
Well, I graduated college in June of 1984. July of 84, I moved to Huntsville, Texas, with a duffel bag of clothes to go to graduate school at Sam Houston State.
Okay.
Went to work for the college, and
Want some of this?
shortly thereafter, I helped a deputy out one night, early one morning, and helped him chase down a couple of suspects. And a month later, I'm working for the Walker County Sheriff's Department in Huntsville, Texas.
Okay. Nice. Never a dull moment in that area of the state, I imagine.
Learned very quickly how to talk to people,
Yeah.
how to defend myself, because you were by yourself 95% of the time. You may
Okay.
have somebody coming to help you, but he may be 20, 30 minutes away, depending on what part of the county you might be in.
Okay.
That was something that's very surprising when we had the sheriff on, or something I didn't actually consider is sheriff deputies are usually not, in the city. They're out of the city,
Right.
so they're alone.
Until help comes around.
Yeah.
But that's not instantly.
Out here, it's, for us, it's a little bit different because you do have Bridgeport PD, Boyd, Rome, Runaway Bay. So they do come and help. But there's parts of this county, you're way the heck off the beaten path.
So
Yeah.
a city police officer can leave the city confines to assist other police officers, I guess?
Yes.
I didn't know
Depending on what their policy is, right? I mean,
Okay.
I remember there was a time when you had to request them.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't just automatically send them; they had to be requested.
that. Okay.
He's right about having the smaller agencies that have their own PDs or the smaller cities that have their own PDs. But you get out down 920, right? Your closest. We got help from Springtown before,
Yeah.
because they were closer, right?
Sure.
So,
Okay.
or Parker County. You get out past Runaway Bay. I mean, and if Runaway Bay doesn't have anybody on that night, your help's coming from Bridgeport,
Yeah,
or
you're
you
by
get out there
yourself.
by Blockers Camp.
Walker's Camp.
You
yeah.
know, you get way out there. Yeah.
Nobody's coming out there.
No, and there's usually, if on a full staff sheriff's patrol shift, there's a sergeant, a corporal, and 4 deputies.
Okay.
So, and that's if nobody's taken off, nobody's sick. So, yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So you're a sheriff's deputy at this point, and
Met my wife in Huntsville.
okay.
We got married in Huntsville. And she'd always said, only request she made from me was that she would like to move closer to the Fort Worth area once she graduated, because I didn't have any relatives in the state. And she was from the Fort Worth area.
Okay.
And an old roommate of mine was up in the mid-cities working, calls me one day, says, hey, they're hiring and they want certified officers. So I turned in my application and went to work in Bedford Police Department in 1988.
Really? Bedford. Okay. Yeah. And that's at that point still, I guess, is Bedford more of a small town still at that point, or is it starting to encompass all of the Metroplex?
It was, you could see the change in it. More people.
Yeah.
You got Airport Freeway 121. We got into a lot of stuff.
Okay. So I remember as a kid, when we talked about Keller, when we talked about Plano and Frisco, you could still like delineate these smaller towns.
Right. Everything's
kind
of
the Metroplex. Now everything just looks the same. It's like, oh, I'm in a new city. Oh, I'm in a new city.
Yeah. There's times you won't know what city you're in unless you see a city limit sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So the airport, that was like, the DFW airport was like 1980s, right?
I think so. Wasn't it built in the 80s?
Or no, 70s.
Yeah,
Was it
it's been around
70s?
for a
But
while.
that like mid-cities development didn't really start to pick up until then. It was still a 2-lane road. I guess you had Airport Freeway, but anything past Grapevine was a 2-lane road to get to. Southlake,
Yes.
Keller, Roanoke.
Yeah. Because I don't think 121 that went north to south there was opened until like the 90s, I think.
Early 90s.
Early 2000 or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you used to have to go all the way around or into Irving and take 121 up that way.
Okay.
But yeah, I grew up, I graduated from Keller.
Okay.
So when it was still small town, so they just moved to 5A. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
from
so
4A to
basically,
5A. Yeah.
Keller was at the end of 1709 and at the end of Ruth Snow,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And
Ruth Snow didn't go all
Yeah.
the way through.
yeah, that's crazy. The amount of development that's happened to that
Crazy.
mid-cities like area since the 80s has it has felt unprecedented.
Yeah.
Of course, we've seen it. But
That's for sure. So how does being a sheriff's deputy in Bedford play into where you are now?
Well, after Bedford, I went to work for the great state of Texas.
Hold on. Refresh me. Were you working for the city or as a county?
No, I was with the city.
Okay, so
The
you're a
city
city
of
police
Bedford,
officer
yes.
then. Okay, sorry.
And after Bedford, I went to work for the great state of Texas and worked for the Alcoholic Beverage Commission,
Interesting.
TABC.
Okay.
love those people.
What year was that?
Golly, what was it?
I've got
I'm just trying to say, was you that guy?
You're going to be records hunting.
Yeah.
I was working that night, but me and my partner were in another part of Fort Worth.
There you go. Thank you.
TABC is sneaky. I've got some good stories involving them.
That Northside Bank right there in the parking lot. You know what I'm talking about?
No,
No?
Northside Bank and like old Cowtown.
Yeah.
No.
Y'all don't know what I'm talking about?
No.
You know what I'm talking about. That's where the TABC guys used to hang out because it was a big wide open parking lot just on the south side of Northside,
Yeah.
right? And everybody parked there.
Oh, man.
And you would be going to get in your truck and you're like, excuse me, sir.
Yep.
We had some good times in Cowtown.
You guys made a lot of money on citations. I know that much.
And it's, from what I understand, it's changed a lot now, and they don't do it the same way we used to do it.
Okay.
To me, that if you ever get a chance to read an alcoholic beverage permit, it states on there, this premises is can be inspected by any law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
It's not just TABC.
Okay.
Police, deputies, DPS.
They're all under the
Anybody
same-
can. But they never knew when we were going to pop in.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard they've changed so much now. There's places that haven't had a TABC agent walk in them in years.
Well, most other law enforcement, I guess, is going to walk in uniform. TABC is typically in civilian clothes, right?
Well, but when we're out like that, TABC had a rule. You had to wear a coat and a tie when you went in a licensed premise. Unfortunately, there's some of these premises, I'm not going in with a coat and tie on. So, no, we had gun rigs and boots and badge hanging here. And now, if we were going to the Petroleum Club downtown Fort Worth, we put a tie and our coat on.
It was a little different. Yeah.
But if we were going to Joe's Shack, out in the middle of nowhere. No, we're not wearing a tie, and we didn't wear a coat.
My most memorable story is I forget what, I think it's 2003. I wasn't 21 yet. We were at a Pat Green concert. You remember him?
Yes.
Huge in Texas in that era. And we were sitting in the parking lot, and of course everybody's pre-gaming it. We're sitting on their coolers, and I am like one of 20 that's not 21, right? Okay, and I look over, and all my friends are lined up talking to this guy in like a floral Hawaiian shirt. And I look over at the guy at the floor. I'm like, man, I wonder what the hell they're doing. And I look over, and the guy looks at me, and I'm just sitting on my cooler, and I smile at him, and I raise my glass to him and give him a little salute. And he just nods his head and goes on talking to him. They all come back. They're like, dude, we just got busted by the TABC. They're here busting people, minors in possession. Oh my gosh. I guess the guy thinking I knew who he was and giving him a little salute was like, he's nothing to worry about. So I didn't get a ticket.
I didn't. That part was not really my favorite.
Yeah.
If people would see what we have seen in what I've seen in bars, behind the bar,
No doubt.
Yeah.
in the back, you'd never go into a bar. But most people wouldn't go into a restaurant
If you saw
it in the back
kitchen.
either.
Yeah. I agree.
And but me and my wife and my kids grew up out here in Wise County. We lived here since '90. Both of my kids graduated from Northwest High School.
Okay.
And I was with the sheriff's department out here, and I got hurt real bad, and I thought my career was over.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, they were having a special election for the Precinct 3 constable's job.
Okay, so you were a sheriff's deputy in Wise County.
Yes.
When you got hurt. Interesting.
Yeah.
What year?
I was an investigator.
Okay, cool.
And this was 2013 when I got hurt. And spent 7.5 months on crutches because I have a knee surgery and Achilles tendon repair at the same time.
Ooh.
So I lost my position there. And during my recovery, I'm not going to go into details about it, but there was a problem with the other constable. He resigned. They had a special election.
I feel like I know who he's talking about, but we don't have to go into details about it.
I had forgotten until you just said. I was just fixing to ask you, why was there a special election? But
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Go into details. What is a special election? Why would they do that?
If a constable's term's 4 years.
Okay.
Let's say you get elected. Something happens, you get sick, you have to resign.
Okay.
Or you embezzle like money.
Yeah, or you get indicted.
Yeah.
The county commissioners and the commissioners court commissioners court can call for a special election, or they can appoint someone to serve in that capacity until the other election.
Okay.
They normally are not going to appoint somebody when there's more than 2 years left in that term. So they called for a special election. And I told my wife what I wanted to do. I won't repeat what she said. It was not nice.
You're still married, though, right?
June will be 37 years.
Well, congratulations on that. That's awesome.
And I made her a promise. I said, this will be the last badge I pin on. And so I put my name on the dotted line and started knocking on doors.
Okay.
And was in a special election with a very nice guy. Had no policing experience whatsoever. Was not a peace officer.
Is that something that just anybody can run for these things, or?
Well, a lot of people don't know. You can run for the sheriff and the constable's position without being a certified peace officer.
Are you kidding me?
A sheriff's candidate has 2 years upon election to become a peace officer.
Okay.
God, is that too late to put my name in that running?
Constables.
I'm not voting for you, man.
Yeah.
I already know who I'm voting for. It ain't you.
Something about having Savage Bro as like sheriff,
Staying at home.
I think it'd be great.
It's like anguish, it's like, whoa, man, I would not break the law.
Don't drive.
His campaign slogan: hide your kids, hide your wives. Savage is sheriff. Okay, God, that's a nightmare. We don't do that.
Sorry.
Oh, man.
Hide the good liquor. Is that what you have?
Yeah.
Hide the good whiskey.
God, I'm going to have dreams tonight.
We love you, though.
Yes.
But a constable has 270 days from the day they're sworn in to become a Texas peace officer.
So you have to also then.
Yes.
Which makes sense.
In my opinion, that's something I believe our legislature should change.
Yeah.
It should be a prerequisite.
Prerequisite.
I'm having a tough time.
Yeah.
Prerequisite. That's
They put some for a constable's job position. It's you got to at least have a 2-year degree
okay.
from a college in good standing.
An
a lot
accredited
of
university.
Yes.
Sure.
But you can obtain your peace officer's license after you win the election.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is, especially in today's society, after I won the runoff, the gentleman I was in the runoff with, we sat down and talked because he had some questions. I told him, I said, look, he said he could communicate very well with people. And in his job, he can. But I told him, I said, in any type of law enforcement, there's people that you can talk to, but a lot of times there's people you really have to talk to.
Okay.
That's valid.
They don't understand, yes, sir, no, sir, thank you, please. You have to get down in the gutter with them for them to understand that you're not playing around.
Okay. I see where you're going. Yeah.
And
you got to stoop to their level.
Yes.
And just to be able to reason.
Unfortunately, that is true.
Yeah.
I've
Enjoyed it.
I've done it. I couldn't tell you how many times I've had to do it.
Yeah.
So let's see, that was June of 18. 2 years later, I had to run again, and I haven't had an opponent since.
Well, that's a nice way to think about it. As if you're unopposed, then people like what you're doing. Then you're doing a good job.
Well, it was when I went in the office there, I couldn't find as much as a paperclip.
Yeah.
So I just want to leave it better than I found it.
Okay.
When I walk off into the sunset, so to speak, whoever walks in and wins the next one, they can just go to work.
That's a great motto. It's just a good motto for anybody to apply for their daily life.
But is that a good thing? That, I mean, not saying that you shouldn't win it, but is that ever a good thing to go unopposed, in your opinion?
It makes their life a little easier,
Right.
because you're not driving T-post and hanging signs.
Yeah, for sure.
And all that. Those first 2 years, even my wife ran into it. People would see her around, because Precinct 3 is the Boyd, Rome, goes over towards Cottondale.
Mm-hmm.
That's southeastern part of Wise County.
Mm-hmm.
And people she didn't even know would say, hey, we see your husband out all the time, because I had trucks got markings on it and all that.
Yeah.
And we never saw that before.
Mm-hmm.
So people were happy. If nobody's wanting to run against me, there's either two reasons. Either I'm doing a good job, which I think I am, or they see what the salary is and they go, there's no way in hell I'm running for this.
I don't want that. I don't
want to do that.
But it's been interesting because January was my 39th anniversary in law enforcement, and most of it's been criminal.
You've been in law enforcement longer than you've been married.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I was working with the sheriff's department when I met my wife in Huntsville.
Okay. Yeah. Touche. Yes, you did say that.
The
city of Huntsville, not.
No,
because when you say Huntsville, some people might go
Prison.
right out of jail.
Well, and that's what I tell people. I met my wife in Huntsville. She had just paroled, and
pen pals.
yeah. But it was the first time I met her. I made fun of her little white dog, cute little white dog. She looked me dead in the eye and called me an asshole and walked off.
That's worked for me many times.
It's like, sounds like a good start.
It's a term of endearment.
We lived in the same apartment complex. So one day I'm leaving for work. I'm in my uniform, in my squad car. I'm headed out to work. And she's outside her apartment, little white dog's, doing its business.
Yapping.
Can't tell you to this day why I didn't roll the window down. I opened the door. This dog runs dead at me, jumps in my lap, turns around and looks at her. Anybody else in a uniform, this dog would lose its ever-loving mind.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it didn't matter. Somebody, especially a man in uniform, she would want to kill them. That's the only reason why my wife went out with me, is because the dog
approved.
The dog approved.
The women folk, they call that serendipity.
Oh.
I thought that was a seasoning.
No.
It is from chicken.
Yeah, you put it on your chicken.
Yeah. But that's the root. Like this coincidence that has some meaning.
And dogs know, man. They have this.
Yeah.
They have the sixth sense.
Did you ever
Obviously,
tell her-
y'all don't like watch rom-coms because it's obvious on rom-coms that's called serendipity.
What's a rom-com?
I'm a man.
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah,
you say.
yeah,
But,
romantic comedy.
I watch war movies.
You know, like Jennifer Aniston bullshit.
Chuck Norris. Is Chuck Norris in rom-coms?
No.
Well, I don't watch them.
no, he would have karate chopped that dog in midair.
I want to know, did you ever tell her you had peanut butter in your pocket?
This whole time.
No, we didn't go there. I forgot to tell her I had some hamburger meat. But
That's a pretty nice way to meet
the constable's job has been a lot to learn. I'm sitting in my office the first couple of weeks trying to get everything
So, like, you're surprised
lined out.
going from
and
your past experience in law enforcement to constable of what you have to know.
And I'm sitting here going, I come to the realization I could get sued quicker doing this than if I were to get into a tussle with someone out as a patrol officer.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, because there's times when you're taking people's property, you're seizing property, you're moving them out of a house, or you're giving them divorce papers, and because basically that's what a constable does.
You're
Okay,
not, when you
that
show
leads
up,
to the next part.
it's never for good news, is it? Congratulations, you just won 1.5.
You've been sued.
Yes.
Now I have had a few of the guys that I've delivered divorce papers to just break out in hysterical laughter.
So that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, they were happy to see it.
Depends on where you are in your life, whether that's good news or not.
It's
Now,
like-
child support papers, on the other hand, not so much.
Yeah, not so much.
And we do serve a lot of those from the
Yeah.
AG's office. Yeah, child support payments, and hey, are you the baby's daddy? And it's time for you to go get paternity test.
This is getting interesting, really. Like, okay, let's talk about all the day-to-day stuff that really involves being a constable.
Well, they're called citations. Those are usually, they're very basic. It's the citation. It's like, hey, you're getting sued. Or, hey, you're still getting, just about every one of them starts out, you've been sued.
Yeah.
It could be for you didn't pay your credit card bill, you haven't paid child support, you're being evicted. Litany, it's a lot of different things.
And you're the guy. Like, no other law enforcement agent. It's all constable.
I'm a mailman with a gun.
Okay.
I deliver the court's paperwork. Now that court could be from another country,
Yeah.
or from all over the United States. The biggest paper I served was out of a Connecticut federal court. The paperwork was that thick. There were 30 defendants, and one of them lived in Wise County, Texas.
Oh, wow.
So I had to serve that person. And it, like I said, some of it's very basic. Hey, you forgot to pay your taxes, things of that nature, all the way down. I'm seizing your property. See ya. We can, basically though, constables, no law enforcement officer does what's called a civil standby anymore. I'm not going to go with you to help you get your lawnmower back from Joe without a court order. I don't go to the bathroom without a court order when I'm working.
Yeah. So you don't get sued?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's so, you could go and everything's fine when you're there, and 5 minutes later, Joe's on social media saying, hey, the constable just forced me to give my lawnmower to Bill.
Yeah.
Well, that's a felony for me. It's called official oppression. I'm using my authority as a police officer to force somebody to do something.
Right.
But now there's different things that a judge can send out that we can go help people with that.
Okay.
But basically it's serving papers from the court. It's JP court, criminal courts at law, district courts.
Yeah.
And this is Wise County?
Yes.
Okay.
Anywhere, really.
Anywhere. I just served one the other day from Kansas.
No, I mean, okay. Okay. What I was going to ask was, do you also do the cities within the county?
Yes.
Okay.
In his precinct.
In my precinct.
Oh, okay. So what we talked about, Boyd and Aurora and all those. Okay.
What a lot of people don't know is a constable can serve a paper in any part of his county. Let's say I get one that should have went to precinct 1, and because we butt up to each other in Rome area. I don't send it to him. I just go serve it.
Right.
I've been to the Tarrant County Jail to serve papers.
Oh, wow.
we can actually serve in Wise County and any other county that borders Wise County.
Yeah.
That's Wise, Tarrant, Parker, Clay, Montague, Jack,
It's a big area.
and Denton County. We can go to those areas and actually serve papers. We can't seize property except in Wise County, unless we're seizing land, and part of that land is in Wise County but extends into a neighboring county. I can't seize that. But I can't go take your tractor if you're living in Montague County.
Okay.
A Montague County constable will have to do that.
You'd have to. Okay.
Okay, so I have a really tough question, and we may not need to broach this until later. But why does a county want a constable?
Counties,
Oh, that's tough.
counties are constitutionally formed
They're required.
while this
Required to have a
while
constable.
this state was
Wow.
still a republic.
Mm.
18. Hang on.
So they've been around that long.
Well, the word constable's been around since about 1066 in England.
Same type of role in
Yes.
those times. Yeah.
So the rumor has it that COP is an acronym for Constable on
On
Patrol.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Okay.
okay.
The first
never known that.
Texas constable was in 1823.
Eesh.
He brought notes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just saying.
That's
Wow.
that's
That's 'cause Barney told
that's
me
the,
to.
that's the nerd. That's the nerd coming out in me. I would have. Yeah. It, like I said, it sucks getting old, and you do kind of forget things. Sometimes.
Yeah. Tell me.
But that's
about
what ChatGPT's for.
That you didn't use.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to use it though.
But yeah, it's like being in police work. Police work is always evolving. Things change. Every 2 years, the legislature meets. They change laws. They add to. They delete from. You can go to the same call, and as a law enforcement officer, 100 times, and it's going to be different 100 times. The same type of call, but there's different actors. There's different things at play. Same thing with these. Yeah, it's the same papers. But if I'm driving up to a place and I'm not comfortable going up there, I don't go up there. I'll get Barney or one of the other constables that, hey, I need you to go, or I recognize a name or an address. I'll do some research. If I'm not comfortable, I don't have to go up there by myself.
You can officially call for backup then. In that
Yes.
instance.
Especially if it's like bad news, you know it's going to be bad news. Or if you have a history, you have the address, you can call the SO and say, hey, what's the history at this address, whatever. And they say, well, there's, disturbance. He's got a criminal history of fighting and shooting or whatever. Then
A history of violence.
then, hey, we got to go serve this. Let's
Call
go.
the cavalry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why we convinced, Constable Huffman several years ago convinced the Commissioner's Court to let him hire some non-paid reserves.
That's me.
Because
Hi, Kevin.
Thus enters Barney.
because
It's like volunteer fire, but with police.
So you get no payment.
Yeah.
You put your life on the line and
Well, he carries my commission.
yeah.
So to
Yeah.
be a peace officer, you have to be licensed.
Sure.
But to be gainfully to act as, I guess, you have to have someone carry your commission.
Some organization.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you
I
have
gotcha.
to? Do you have to have the peace officer license to do what you do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You do. Okay.
So you can't carry a gun, enforce a law when needed as a reservist.
Yes,
right?
I can.
Yeah.
I mean, unless some organization says,
Well, if you're a
we're-
reserve, someone's carrying your
we're
commission.
going to
Yeah,
endorse
okay.
this.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. If you're
okay,
a
I
reserve,
gotcha.
someone's carrying your commission.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's just a license on the wall
Yeah.
until somebody gets you carries your commission.
Okay.
and
We should've-
that's registered,
T-Cole.
with TCO.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
All that's done through the state.
Nice.
We should have asked that with the sheriff, and I guess we will here.
I had another thing too.
With him interrupting.
I know, right? No. What
All
should
the
we
time.
have asked?
No, never mind. Never
Well,
mind. What I had to ask is
I'll tell you
important.
what I forgot to ask.
Okay, you have the floor is yours,
Yeah.
Dr. Fagley.
No, I was.
This is his only man time, so
I know.
he's surrounded by women 24/7.
Yeah, he never has the floor.
That's the
Go
truth.
ahead.
Yeah,
You're on the spot.
What I didn't ask about
No pressure.
was Walker, Texas Ranger. You know how how real that show was.
Did you drive
Obviously.
a Dodge Ram?
Did you really
sir?
need to ask that,
Yeah.
or you just wanted to get a reaction?
No, I really want to know.
Yeah.
Bro, Walker,
Obviously,
Texas
it's
Ranger was
real.
not a show. It was a documentary. Every
Stop
episode,
it.
a documentary. Okay.
That's his everyday life, bro.
I will tell you, at the Texas Ranger Museum in Waco, I think Lane brought it up the other day, that there is a little section of Chuck Norris.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I
Sure.
did not know that.
Yeah,
Have y'all been to that place?
I have.
It's freaking pretty sweet.
Okay. Before I forget my question,
Yes.
like in the
Is there anything else you got, Doc?
You're a fun toy.
I'm just here to hit the record button
Yeah.
and make sure everybody can hear everybody.
What's your question?
Okay,
already?
go ahead, Chance. I'm feeling bad.
Okay, you see this in shows sometime where it's a critical thing going on, and the constable or the sheriff needs help, and it's like, hey, you civilian, I'm going to deputize you and need your help with this. Can that really happen?
You can, but in Texas, you don't have to do that.
Okay.
Usually, if something bad's happened, people are going to, they help.
9 times out of 10.
9 times out
Right
of 10.
state for good help with
And
that.
they
Like,
already
hey, T-Bone.
Yeah, they already have
You good with a
guns
gun?
waiting.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
I'll be very honest with
Yeah.
you. When I was a deputy in Huntsville, we actually had a gentleman on parole stopped and helped the deputy one night because he was running in the bar ditch on I-45 in a fight.
Oh, okay. I think I remember seeing dash cam footage.
And
of
the
this.
reason why is because the way the deputies in Walker County treated him. We didn't treat him like he was a piece of crap. We may not have wanted to have Sunday dinner with him, but we treated him like a human being. And I've told, as a training officer, I've told these guys, I said, I don't care if he's the biggest scumbag that God ever produced. You got to treat him like a human,
Yeah,
because one night you may need him to help you.
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Or he can wave as he's going
Passing
by
by,
as you're
yeah.
getting your gut stomped out. So it's the word community policing has been around for a long time. Somebody came up with that phrase, wrote some books, and made a lot of money.
Mhm.
In my opinion, that's what police officers, cops, deputies, any law enforcement officer has done since Moses rode a tricycle. Because you're there to help people. It's not all about writing tickets, putting handcuffs on people. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I've put handcuffs on a few people that I got pleasure out of doing that. Not because I could, but because of what they had done.
Yeah, that was needed. Yeah.
Right. And it's kind of like that with, everything changes from the criminal end. Things change from the civil end, too.
Okay.
That is what the constables and the sheriffs kind of overlay each other because we both can handle criminal and civil. Your city cops don't do civil. It's either the county sheriff and your constables or just the constables. Tarrant County, their constables, Tarrant County constables serve all the civil paper in that county. The Tarrant County Sheriff's Department doesn't mess with it. Parker County is the same way.
In each precinct in Tarrant County, the larger counties have multiple paid positions
Yes.
in each precinct. Like in Harris County, I think in Harris County, the largest,
Precinct 4 and 5 down there.
yeah, and they have like, how many guys they got, do you know?
That's Houston. Huh?
Yeah,
Yes.
I met the Precinct 4 Harris County Constable at a school last year in Huntsville. He has over 500 sworn men and women.
What?
Yeah.
Half of them do criminal, half of them do
Wow.
civil.
Wow.
He has his own dispatch, 911. His budget is $70+ million a year.
And that's one precinct.
Precinct 4 Harris County. North part of Houston.
Wow.
Yeah,
So-
it's crazy, isn't it?
And it can go right now, the best I can tell, there's 3 counties out of the 254 in the state of Texas that do not have constables.
In his notes.
And they are, can't remember.
Like far west Texas, maybe?
I think so. Reagan County,
Ooh.
Don't know
My
what that
keyboard's
is.
not working, so I can't look that up.
Mills, Reagan, and Roberts County. If you have a constable's precinct for 7 years that no one runs for that position and it's not filled, your county commissioners can
Vacate
abolish it. Like, okay, you take Montague County, just to the north of us. They have 2 constables.
Okay.
They split north and south. We have 4.
Yeah.
Tarrant County has 8. Harris County has 8. because they're big populations.
Huge.
So most of your Dallas, Tarrant, Bexar County, Harris County, Travis County, they're going to be 8 precincts.
Okay.
Just because of their population.
Man, and each of those precincts is going to be like a large department.
Well, up to 500.
That's
Like
what
you said,
that's
the
crazy.
two precincts 4 and 5 have
Yeah,
in
that's-
Harris County.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's basically
That's almost 4 times bigger than our sheriff's office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Per
that's just
precinct.
for one precinct. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you ever drive through Houston, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
this place doesn't end.
Well, you don't know where it starts and where it ends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At the ocean.
we used to hate driving to Harris County to pick up prisoners when I worked in Huntsville.
Okay. Why's that?
Oh, they'd run you over in
Just the
Harris
traffic.
County if you were in a marked car.
Just because they knew who you were.
they just
I think that's just traffic in Houston.
it was just traffic in Houston. Yeah.
There's nothing against law enforcement. That's
Right.
just traffic.
Oh yeah, they didn't care basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Wow. Go ahead,
but
please.
that big overlay is more and more counties are going to where the constables do the civil because of the amount of civil that's going on, plus what the sheriff's department has to deal with. Like the sheriff's department, in my opinion, their biggest headache is that jail.
Mhm.
That is a nightmare.
Yeah.
And
Just managing it.
managing it, you've got what 200 to 300 knuckleheads that you're having to deal with. You
On
got to
a
take them
daily.
to the doctor, take them to see their psychiatrist, have tests run.
What, they get psychiatric treatment in
Yes,
jail?
they do.
I mean,
And dental.
What the hell?
I've heard
I'm not
it's
saying they get
outstanding.
crowns or whatever, but I mean,
Yeah.
like
Right.
if they got a toothache, they got to take them.
I've heard it's outstanding care
Yeah.
that they get, and I mean, mental health.
Some days I just need to go to
No,
jail.
I'm just being facetious. It's shitty care.
Next time I get a
Yeah.
toothache, I'm going to call Sheriff Aiken and be like, I did some stuff,
can you
man.
book me
Can you
in
come
real
pick me
quick?
up?
Well, you got to be an inmate first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You won't like the food.
I can lose some weight too while we're at it. There we go.
And you never know what pod you're going to be in either.
Oh, true. Yeah, you're not in there by yourself.
Yeah, all of a sudden
not-
Well, you could be,
Yeah.
depending on what you do.
But would anybody try to take this man? I mean,
That's okay. Being the biggest guy, you probably know this too. Like you're the challenge for. It's like the bigger they are, the harder they fall. I want to be the guy that took down Goliath, right?
I've not thought of it that way.
There's always every time, and I
So-
was a teddy bear growing up, but because I'm the biggest guy, everybody wanted to fight me.
I know it's like you end up behind bars, like every short little, like fucker.
Yeah.
Like really
and-
wants to lay his mark on you.
Well, and that's true. I mean, I'm not as heavy now, but when I was a deputy in Huntsville, I'm 6'5". I was 265 pounds, worked out every day.
Yeah,
They were the first ones they came after, not me.
yeah.
They could be 5 other deputies standing there. They're coming after me
take
because
down-
they want the biggest guy.
You don't have that problem, do you, Barney?
Never have. I don't know why. I really don't know why.
Man.
Well, let's kind of pause that where we're at now and then talk about. I mean, you're here too, so let's talk about you, Barney, and where your history and stuff you're involved with.
Roots.
Yeah, roots.
Scotland.
Yeah, how'd you get here?
I drove.
Yes,
Was it from a ship?
it was.
I was in the Navy, so I graduated from Keller in the 80s, 89.
Was it really 89?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was 9.
Yep,
I was
a
9.
wee lad too.
About time for your bedtime, isn't it?
Well, hell, I graduated in 79.
Oh,
I was 9.
Yeah, you were.
I went in the Navy right out of high school.
Okay.
Did 8 years as a radioman. They don't even have radiomen anymore. It's a IT, something like
Yeah,
that.
Wi-Fi men.
Information
Computer
nerd. Yeah.
technician or something like that. So
Shout out to Ghost Bro,
Yeah,
our own computer nerd
IT
that never
guy.
here. That's never here.
He's our local IT guy also.
But he obviously works because we have internet.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. It's not working.
Shit.
Got to use my hotspot on my phone. Thanks to our IT guy that's never here. back to you, Barney.
Seaman. Yes, you were a seaman.
So listen,
I don't think you can make those kind of jokes if you're not in the military, right?
well, it doesn't matter.
You're gonna punch
You
him?
know, I've got a guy, a good friend of mine who was in the Army, and every time he sees me, he goes like like a squid, right? And I'm like, how are your feet?
Yeah.
You know, because he was in the Army. And he's like, man, they're killing me. I'm like,
Yeah.
And said, I was told by a guy that I really had a lot of respect for. He's like, listen, everybody gives a Navy shit. It's fine. He said, but listen, the worst duty you're going to pull is being on a ship. But you're going to sleep in a rack. You're going to get a shower every day. You're going to shit in a toilet. You're going to get 3 hot meals a day.
Yeah.
You need to think about your quality of life because digging holes to shit in is not going to be fun for very long.
This person was a
valid.
really good
Yeah,
moral
and I
compass.
said, you know what? And then I got lucky and got stationed on an aircraft carrier.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like,
It's like a floating city.
absolutely it was. I'm like, this is awesome. So, yeah, enjoyed it.
Okay. From there.
Desert Storm and all that good stuff.
Yeah. And then into a life of law enforcement or?
Well, probably the last 20 years, maybe. I did a few jobs, ornamental iron, stuff like that. And then went to the academy in Weatherford College back in 05. It was a part-time academy. I worked full-time. I was working at Public Works here in Wise County.
Yeah.
And I would go to work Monday through Thursday, 10-hour days.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to work 5 8s, but my boss, who's no longer there, Tom Good, he used to be the director of Public Works.
I know Tom. Yeah.
Yeah, good man. And he's kind of the reason what put it in my head to be a cop because he was a peace officer.
Okay.
Did you know that?
No, I did not.
So
He never bragged about it.
yeah, so him and Keith Stone were his foreman at the time.
Okay.
They were both peace officers because to write tickets for the septic violations that fell under Public Works, he had to be a peace officer.
There's a real Keith Stone? Mm-hmm. Is that the Keystone commercial? Keith Stone.
I don't know, man. I don't drink that beer.
I
So.
don't either, but I just remember it from the commercials.
If you do, you'll remember it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I drank premium Miller High Life.
Yeah, bush lattes.
Bush lattes. So a friend of mine was going to the academy at the time, and he's like, man, you ought to look into it. And I'm like, I didn't know if the sins of my youth would allow me to, you know what I mean? And he's like, just look into it. And I think it was a God thing because everything from the day I started looking into it, like maybe February or March, the academy started at the middle of August, and everything just fell right into place.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Was that back when the academy was in the old Walmart?
No,
Okay.
I had to go to Weatherford.
Oh, okay. You actually went to Weatherford. I
Yeah,
just
and then we
remember-
did our shooting out at Mineral Wells.
Nice. I remember being in college courses when Weatherford College Decatur was in that old Walmart building. And
It was
the
after
police-
that.
The police academy was there too. And I remember every time we come out of class, all the candidates are out running their asses off. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I don't want to be a police officer.
Yeah.
Those guys run a lot.
So I'm glad that I went to that academy. It was tough because I was, school was a social function for me. It wasn't there to learn. And you're nodding your head and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but my academy at the time was fill in the blank. There was no multiple choice. So I had to buckle down and really study.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I still retain a lot of that stuff because once you know it, you don't lose it. And it was tough, but I think I was graduated second in my class.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Dang.
Nice.
Okay.
Where then after that?
Wise County.
Okay. Sheriff's.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sheriff's office.
Office. Yeah.
Yes.
I was corrected by Sheriff Aiken. It's
Yeah.
it's Sheriff's office, not Sheriff's Department.
Yeah. And I worked there I was a patrol deputy, patrol sergeant, CID.
Okay.
And then left and I work for the state now.
CID.
Criminal investigations.
Okay. See, all of you guys use your little acronyms and abbreviations.
Well, I forget
You gotta-
that not everybody knows what that means, but yeah, it's as an investigator.
Okay. Very cool. Can we talk about CPS?
No,
No, we can't.
no.
Okay.
I'm a special investigator for the Department of Family Protective Services.
Okay. That's as far as we can go with that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it means you see some shit.
Is that something I
Yeah.
need to mark down this time on and this needs to be
No,
plugged out?
no, that's fine. I mean,
Okay.
but yeah, because of there's a lot of things that happen,
Yeah.
and we as a department don't ever respond to,
Yeah.
right? Because there's no sense in getting to a back and forth, right?
Sure.
But we do take a lot of heat, right?
Yeah.
We do, and a lot of it's unjust.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I'd agree.
And I know y'all talked with Lane with the Athena case. I know that came out like late in the afternoon. I didn't find out about it till like 12:30 in the morning, and I was on scene at 1. just to offer any type of state resources that we could.
Okay.
And I didn't leave till 5 the next day.
Wow.
So
That's but just because of your presence there, people are already they make assumptions for reasons you may not.
well, I don't advertise.
Yeah.
You know,
Somehow it trickles. Maybe it's small town stuff. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But somehow it trickles out that CPS is on the case, and everybody's, what's that mean? You know, what's really going on?
And I will say that we do get a bad rap, right? Because everybody knows us for taking kids, right?
Sure, yeah.
Well, I'm telling you, there's not a child that's been removed from a home that hasn't been approved by a judge,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In some shape or fashion. And if that has to happen, it's bad,
Right.
right? Now, am I going too far, you think? I don't know, maybe not. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm not giving any specifics, but I will just say that there's a lot. So the law mandates that we have that any child fatality outside of a traffic accident or suspected abuse or neglect has to be investigated by us,
Okay.
special investigators, right? So, or CPS or the department. So, part of my title is that's what I do is investigate child fatalities, and then I'm a law enforcement liaison. I'll try to work a joint investigation with the investigators, and I've got a very good working relationship with all those guys up there.
That's a tough role. You have a good therapist? Because like some of this stuff, there you go. Yeah.
No, so I work crimes against persons at the sheriff's office, and you know, y'all are grown. I mean, you know, you learn how to compartmentalize, right?
Yeah.
So
How did you
Man.
become assistant constable? Is that your?
So I'm a deputy constable.
Deputy,
so you
okay.
have one constable, just like you have one sheriff, right?
Yep.
And then everybody else in the department at the sheriff's office are deputies, right? Well, Craig's the chief deputy.
Yes.
He's the number one deputy, right? He has he's a constable. Everybody else are deputy constables,
Okay.
right? Right?
Yep.
Okay.
And how did you get into that role?
Yeah. How did you?
So when I left the sheriff's office, I went to DFPS, and I was first stationed in Parker County for about a year. That was my assigned county.
DFPS.
Department of Family Protective Services.
Okay. So that's the official department.
It
name.
is. It's not.
Yeah. It's not CPS.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I gotcha. And I will say before we go on, being from, on the medical side of things,
Hey Heath, how's the weather today?
Yeah, man, it's great. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, Doc. Were you talking?
No, I was just saying,
Question? Sorry about that.
I don't know how long, 15 years or so that I've been, practicing within medicine. I've come to understand CPS as being a very valuable service who makes the right call in
More often than not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 99% of the time.
And
right?
you as being a doctor or even a lot of your nurses and most of your staff are mandated reporters.
That's exactly right.
Right.
And so, it feels like whenever we have concerns, and I don't know what it's like in the school system, but at least in the doctor's office, when we have concerns and we elevate those concerns up, they're handled very seriously and they're followed through on. Sometimes not in the way we think they should be handled right from the start, but by the time they come back to us, we understand that, okay, we feel like there has been some appropriate analysis of some situation.
And oftentimes the reporter never finds out what happens.
No, but they're still going to project their own, probably
Absolutely.
their own opinions out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And then Hollywood runs it too. Like, CPS is showing up, taking your kid because you spanked him with a fly swatter.
Right.
But
that's not
real
what
life.
happened.
No, it's not real life. My wife's in the mental health realm, and she's like, CPS is not showing up unless it's critical or bad.
So again, 2 words, abuse or neglect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not a crime to be poor.
Sure. No, it's not. No.
And some people don't choose to live the way you and I would like to live.
Right.
Right? I'm not going to call nobody out, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't mean that by looking at you, but I mean, I just saw that. I was like, but you know what I mean? I mean, they have the means that have, right?
Right.
But there's just some things that just can't be overlooked.
Cultural differences,
Yeah.
all of the things. And
So we may have to edit this out. I'll call you or then let you know, but I want to tell a story.
Okay. I'm going to mark down the
okay.
starting time right now then.
I'm sorry.
No,
you're good.
You're good.
So I did get a case, and there was a family in Denton, and there was 9 siblings, and they were from Somalia, right? And we have a language line that we can contact and say, hey, tell this lady I said hi, and this is who I am. Right?
Yeah.
So there was a 15-year-old of the 9 children. Anytime we have to see every kid in the home, right? Not just that one.
Right.
This kid liked to wander off in the middle of the night, go for a walkabout, whatever.
15 years old.
Yeah, and he had some mental health issues. And every time he would walk off, they would call in, the cops would pick him up and they, neglectful supervision, let's call in a case, right? I would have to go out there every time and see all the kids at like 4 different schools. Like, man, this is wearing me out, right?
Yeah.
But the mom thought that they're going to pray it out of him.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't believe the mental health issues, right? We're going to pray it out of him.
Cultural differences.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So it's sometimes very difficult.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, mad respect for that because that's not an easy role to play. Wow. Okay, back to Deputy.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Constable.
I'm so.
Did you two know each other before?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Through the sheriff's office.
Right. Yeah.
Team deputies there. You all served together same time?
Yeah.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
remember one time, I think you had just come back, right?
Yeah.
And remember that crazy story at my house out at the farm?
Yeah.
There's farms are.
Listen, I lived on
Farms are
a
the
private road
epicenter.
right off of 3655, right?
Okay.
And way out there. And I don't remember the guy's name I was thinking about the other day, but it doesn't matter.
I'm trying to remember it too.
Anyway, like I lived in a metal building with, foam all on the inside. So you don't really hear a lot of things. If you hear it, there's a problem.
Sure.
And I heard it and it came from the back and I ran outside and looked and somebody ran into my fence and then they come pulling into my driveway. Officer, help us. I don't want to get shot again. And I'm like, get on the ground right now. And I'm off, right? But I got a patrol car in my driveway. And I'm like,
Who are you?
what? And so the passenger gets out and he's prone in my gravel driveway. And I said, don't you move. And my son comes out. He's like, Dad, I got the AR in the kitchen window. I'm like, just put it up. Right? And I'm like, good night. So we call, and it took you guys like 20-something minutes to get out there.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, we were hauling ass.
Yeah. And the driver was like, damn this. And he almost took out my little shop building that was, little Lowe's buildings, you know what I'm talking about? Sheds.
Storage shed.
Almost took it out and hauled ass. He ended up wrecking out there close to Boonesville.
Jeez.
And, yeah. They had gone to buy some dope and
Okay.
it's
a bad deal.
Whatever they didn't like, they got their truck peppered.
Oh.
And they come down to me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to help you, bro.
Yeah. So that's where I don't want to get shot again from.
Yeah.
He done been shot.
Yeah. And so we ran him. He didn't have nothing. And I said, get this guy off my property. And I don't know where y'all took him, but
We escorted him in the direction he asked to go, and we gave him a ride to a safe place.
Oh.
it's crazy.
A
But
jail
that's the
cell?
first.
A jail cell? No, he went home. Okay.
But that's the first time I'd ever had to call 911.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'm a cop, right? I'm like, I'm used to handling this stuff, right? Like get out of here or whatever. But now it's my property.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what to do here.
What happened to the perpetrators, the people that were shooting at him?
Oh, that was one of the local dope houses during that time period.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's
back
still in,
whenever
isn't he?
Wise County used to be a meth
Oh, I think it's
producer.
I think it's still out there, isn't it?
I think most of the meth we get comes from Mexico.
Mexico,
now.
Comes in,
Yeah.
You don't have the labs out here like anywhere like you used
What are all
to.
those people doing for work then?
Most of them are either dead or in
That's what
prison.
they-
Or locked up.
Okay.
They're going to the dentist right now.
They're getting good.
They don't have
Yeah, I was
benefits.
gonna say probably not going to the dentist.
Yeah, you may have a few people that might cook little batches for themselves, but
Personal use.
It's like Doc said. There's too much. It's too cheap.
Yeah.
They made down south,
Too
and
easy.
it's brought in. Well, the Border Patrol just made a huge bust. What is it, Eagle Pass?
Yeah.
Makes a lot of Uncle
Just
Joe.
tons of meth.
There's that stuff runs so deep down there. I worked with a guy in San Angelo when I lived there in college, and I delivered lumber. So I worked with some swell people. But this was the Mexican guy, and he had a tattoo on his forearm of Satan holding a decapitated Jesus. So,
Wow.
I get to work with this guy and deliver lumber with him.
Wow.
Great.
Yeah. I don't understand these guys these days that are drug users or drug abusers, however you want to look at them.
Yeah.
You know, just like we all know, that anything could be, trampled on with fentanyl.
Yeah.
Anytime,
I'm like,
yeah.
your next hit or bump or snort, whatever,
It's your
could be
last.
your last. And why they still do it, I have no idea.
I don't think they think things through. I don't think.
Well, the
they
last
really,
batch was good.
Yep.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I don't
Yeah.
understand why it gets implemented into the what they think they're buying, because then aren't they killing off their customer base too? Whoever's making the dope.
Well, the cartel's making them, so they don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, maximize addiction.
But what
potential.
was scary is this guy. We talked. I didn't get into too much of the weeds with him, but some of the stuff that he did. Tell me, he's like, man, there's on the border. It's the Wild West still. He's like, and this is
Yeah.
2004. He's like, it's very much the Wild West. He's reformed. I guess he had found Jesus.
Jesus.
Oh, he's right there.
Yeah, he's right there.
Yeah, they
Satan's
found
got him. But he told me, he's like, there's cops, lawyers, doctors, judges, people you wouldn't believe that are on that payroll for getting dope across the border down there.
Oh, yeah.
They pay off. It's frightening. It really is. But
You said that he found Jesus, and a lot of every convict or everybody that gets arrested finds Jesus, right? And I used to tell people all the time, I don't know why all these churches are out here. Jesus is down there at 200 Rook Ranch.
Yep.
At the jail.
At the jail, yeah.
yeah,
So I want to skip ahead a little bit because I've been asked this 2 or 3 times because I've told people, we got a constable coming on.
Did you say constable?
Constable.
Constable.
And
Same joke. Still not funny.
So people's asked this multiple times. They've asked me, well, make sure you guys ask, why does that position need to be elected? And I think you hit on it a little bit beforehand, but
Because it was set up by the founding fathers of the state of Texas that it's an elected position.
Okay.
Sam said so.
It's in the
Yeah.
Constitution, and I believe the first one was the first constable that I mentioned in that year was by Sam Houston. He was the one that tapped him, because back then the constables were looked at as being the person, the law enforcement in that county. They if there was a riot or if there was something going on, it's their responsibility. That kind of changed over during and after the Civil War, because Texas seceded from the Union and all that. Well, a lot of government positions were not filled. Well, during what's it called?
Reconstruction.
Reconstruction. Thank you. They were not filled, or they were filled with people that didn't know what they were couldn't do the job.
Sure. Okay.
So that gradually took things away from the constables' offices, and it became more for the sheriff's office to handle that.
Okay. Gotcha.
Of course, back then, we were still a young nation, right? All of America was. And the only history of government that we had was from overseas, right?
Yeah.
So they took what they wanted from there and brought it here.
And left the other pork over
Shite
there.
over there, right? Sheriff is derived from sheriff.
Yeah.
That makes sense now. Yeah. I'll be damned.
Man, we're learning like so much this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. Just like the county wants to have control over the people, want control over like the tax assessor, right? You also want control over the person who's serving your papers, right?
Okay.
And so I could see how we would want it to be an elected official.
So we've just kept
For that
up with
reason.
that tradition. It's never been questioned or brought into question.
right.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't want an indecent bastard in
Or corrupt.
that position,
You
or
have
corrupt,
end up with
right?
a corrupt sheriff,
And not be able to get rid of them.
and they appoint a corrupt or 4 corrupt constables. Then
Well, I think the people that when they ask me why does it have to be or what's the reason it has to be elected is more like, say, for like a city manager. City
Yeah.
manager is not an elected official,
No.
but it's a group of people that are elected hires that said person. So that's what I think that's where they were coming with it was why does
Yeah.
it have to be elected? Why can it not be appointed? I guess is the word. So,
And
but I think you
under
explained it
certain
well.
circumstances, it can be. Like I said, if someone gets sick, passes away, or has to step down, they can appoint somebody. But if there's more than 2 years left, they're going to have a special election.
Right.
And the reason why it's not appointed is because the way it started, and it's in the young history and the Constitution of the state.
So we just went through this. If y'all don't know, when Rex Hoskins decided he was going to run for sheriff, right? So he vacated his position,
Oh, I didn't know that.
right?
Right.
And Galen Wiley was appointed, correct?
No.
Was there an election or what?
Special
No.
election.
What happened was Galen took over for Larry Short. Larry had to step down due to medical reasons.
Sorry.
Okay.
So he was appointed to finish out that term, and now Galen's running this first time, and he's unopposed.
Okay.
Okay.
The different when Rex announced he could not be on the ballot twice.
Okay.
So he's there for sheriff. He could not also run for his current constable's position.
Right. Okay.
So once it's over with, there'll be a new constable in precinct 1.
This is all really good information, and I want people to know how important this role is in their community. Because let's face it, being a constable is not as glamorized as the sheriff or the city cops, or it's not as theatrical. You're just not exposed in that limelight like the rest of them are. But it's a pretty damn important role. And also, not voting straight party ticket when you go to the voting booth is important, because if you do have somebody that's unopposed on one side or the other, you may not get somebody in that role that is a quality person,
Right.
or
That's
with
true.
good experience, or level-headed, all the above. And I think we've been through a couple of constables like that. But
We've had some constables that had some issues. We're talking several years back too,
That was very nice, Charles.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
nice.
it's a very, very
Chance
professional way
Chance
to
got a story
We call
about
him
it.
Chance is over there giggling like he's just moving. Like, let me talk.
So on Chance's story though, and this is good to fall in. So I know you guys said your main job, I guess, is delivering, serving court appointed
papers
of some sort. But you are also peace officers because you have to get that license, correct? So do you have, if you're on 287 or a county road and you see something stupid going on, can you intervene?
We have the same powers
Yes.
of any peace officer.
Okay,
I can
okay.
write tickets. I can write arrest warrants,
Okay.
subpoenas. I can conduct investigations. But
speeding tickets.
Direct
Yes.
traffic?
I can write tickets. When I'm out, I listen to the radio. I'm not tied to the radio. But if somebody from Boyd or Rome or one of the deputies needs help, I'm going to go. I've helped direct traffic at major accidents where we've had to close down roads, and I've helped locate people because someone didn't make it in one of these wrecks. I knew the name. I knew where that person lived.
Right.
So, yeah, we can do, that's why we carry a gun.
Right.
We have to qualify just like other agencies. That's my responsibility. I got to put it in the computer. I don't go out and take offense reports.
Right.
I don't go out and actively write tickets. I have a ticket book. There's a ticket book in each one of the vehicles that is assigned to my precinct. But I'll be honest with you, there was a gentleman, and I hold this man in high regard. He said, "Now, young man, if you want to keep this job, there's one thing you don't need to do, and that's go out here and start writing a bunch of tickets because people will not vote for you again."
They'll remember that. Yeah.
Now, that's not saying, now I have stopped people because they're doing something
Idiotic.
being an idiot right in front of me, and everybody's, I've
You
got
wanna do something?
hey, So, yes, we can do anything that any peace officer in the state of Texas can do.
Right. Okay.
So, yes.
Full circle back to
And we are always in a marked unit
Yeah.
of some sort.
Okay.
So lights and sirens, radio, the whole thing.
you're not TABC hiding in a Hawaiian
No.
shirt.
And when I go out and serve papers, I check out on the radio. We all have radio numbers,
Yeah.
just like the deputies do.
Okay.
I prefer to check out that way because usually we're by ourselves. And People are crazy sometimes, right? You know,
Yeah.
people.
Oh, yeah.
This may be their last nerve, and you're going up there and giving them
That's it.
Well,
some kind of lawsuit. And
Well, it was what 2 months ago, a little over 2 months ago. Precinct 4 constable and one of his deputies was serving a writ of possession.
okay.
Writ of possession can be used for different things, but we see it mainly when we're during evictions. They've lost their suit. Now we got to go move them out. They get there. Gentleman goes in a back bedroom and puts a shotgun in his mouth.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
jeez.
And
So,
if he wanted to, he could have easily taken out
Yeah.
everybody in the room
yeah.
with him before he took himself out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people do get upset.
Yeah.
I've had people say, that one guy wanted to whoop my ass. I said,
Yep.
that's not going to happen today.
Right.
But by the time I'd left, I said, dude, there's two people you'd be mad at. I said, the guy suing you and yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
I said, I'm just serving this paper. You know, and we can't, people have asked me this too. We should not serve any paper that somebody might say we have a dog in the hunt with. You got to step away from that.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I don't. Like, I'm saying I have, like, sometimes there's paperwork from my department that has to get served.
Yeah.
And if I look through the stack, I can't touch it.
Wow. Okay.
Well, because of a conflict or potential conflict of interest, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And in a small county that happens.
So what you're saying is like somebody, like if it was your brother or your kin,
Right.
You probably wouldn't.
I would
be the
have,
one.
just to make sure there was no
Yeah.
impropriety looked at or it was looked at the wrong way, I would have one of the other guys serve it. Now, I have served people that I know. That's just part of the job.
Well, especially in Wise County.
Yes.
Yeah, you've been around here long enough. You know.
You're going to know somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old 6 degrees of separation, I think, in Wise County, it can be labeled down to about 3. You know? Yeah.
You either know them or you're related to
Right.
them.
Yeah. You're probably both. You probably kin somehow down the
Right.
down the way.
Hey, we're brothers. By the way, you know that?
Yeah, we are.
But it's also, I get some
It says
comfort
right here.
hearing y'all's story. There have been times I've been running like 77 on 287.
Oh my
You know,
God.
and I look up
Straight
and
to prison.
Breaking the law. Breaking
I know.
the
I
law.
look up and I see like that unit with the light bar on it, and I'm like, oh shit! And then I pass, and I'm like, oh, it's a constable.
He ain't gonna do nothing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get the lights whipped up on you. You're like, damn.
If you're ever driving through Precinct 3, what you do, he drives a blue Tesla.
Oh, I've seen the Tesla out there. I was,
There you go.
I was wanting to give him a hard time about
See, I was
driving
wondering
a
because as
battery.
he was walking up to all of our vehicles, he was doing something. What's he doing?
As I was sitting here, which one of these jokers drives the battery operated Tonka toy here?
Not the farmer. That's hilarious. Okay, full circle back to campaigning and running. So, man, I felt great. Okay, like I just went in and did early voting, but because of what we're doing with this
I did
segment,
too.
I've been like pretty damn involved with who locally, at least,
Amen.
who is campaigning
Yeah.
for what position and everything.
It's interesting, isn't it?
And I went in and I was
Yeah.
like, boom, yeah, this person, boom, yeah, this person. There's a few state seats and a few congressional seats. I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
The guy with it was like Frank Big Red Thompson. Did you see that guy on the ballot?
No.
I think
He
I
must have
did.
been on
Yeah, he had a big long.
He must have been on the
nickname.
Democrat side. I don't know, he must have been on the other. Voting in those Democrat primaries,
Hey,
are we?
Hey, I got
See that
pictures.
blue shirt over there.
I got pictures, bro.
But so that was great because we've been engaged in talking to these locally elected representatives, and we kind of know about. So if you're out campaigning, I know you spoke of literally going door to door and knocking and
Yes.
saying, what other methods can you utilize to get yourself out there?
Well, of course, to me, the biggest help for me was actually knocking on the doors. But I also, I sent out mailers. I did one during the primary, and I wasn't going to do one for the runoff, but I was told I should. So I scraped up a little bit of money, and I sent out a mailer during the runoff.
Okay.
And, of course, I put up signs.
Is there any other public forum that you like? Can you have a debate?
We
Is there-
didn't have that many in the south end of the county,
Yeah.
even though there was 4 of us. But if there was a get-together, it could have been in Alvord, Chico, Decatur. I was there.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that didn't make the runoff said, why did you go to those? I said, because I just needed to see if there could have been one person from Precinct 3 or one person there that was a relative of or knew somebody in Precinct 3 that I'm ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I said, that's why I'm beating on doors.
Because you wanted it, though.
Yeah, absolutely. He
And
has
is
that
4,
drive.
is that a lot to 4 people running for a position? Is that a lot, I'm guessing?
You're guaranteed a runoff.
Yeah.
And especially for a precinct. Because you got to have, 51% not to have a runoff. Somebody's got to get 51% of the vote.
And I'm just going to be honest. There's not a lot of registered voters in Precinct 3 that are able to vote.
Yeah.
More so the South,
But what you said
Newark.
is very good. People need to get involved
Yes.
more.
Yeah.
They need to educate themselves, not what they see in the newspaper or read on YouTube, see on YouTube or TikTok.
No Facebook.
Yeah.
Do something other than that.
Well, let's stop right there. That what you just said is the element that dehumanizes. To me, it dehumanizes everybody that's running for these positions because it's like, hey, this person such and such in this role. They don't really talk about the person; they talk about the role in which they serve, and it really dehumanizes them because they can turn them into vandals just by wording something in different contexts than what really happened.
And we all know that even the media in little old Wise County, they know all the tricks. One word used a specific way, it can make somebody look at something sideways.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
So that's, I think, the biggest thing, and I've used this word over and over, is just rehumanizing people that are serving in these positions because we're having a freaking conversation with you.
Well, and that's another thing. Even in our national election, you hear all the crap.
That's it. That's all you hear about.
This person and there are, I've actually had people come after I won the election and was out working. They said, I just wanted to talk to you. I just wanted to meet you.
Yeah.
And I can't remember all their names, but I've run into people in Decatur. Hey, how you doing, Constable Applewhite?
Just being available or there, present.
Right.
Yeah.
And
but your elected officials, in my opinion, should want that.
yes.
If you're the sheriff or you're a constable, even a county commissioner. I mean, heck, sometimes I field call. They call my office because their ditch is clogged up. I either call them back or I send it to the county commissioner's phone. It's all about the old term cops have talked about forever. You serve and protect. A lot of elected officials have forgotten the service part of any elected official's job. It's just like the folks in Washington and in Austin, they work for us. We don't work for them, and they have forgotten that. Now, I'm not one of these conspiracy theorists and all that stuff, but some things need to change.
Do we need to cue up conspiracy
do
crossroads
they?
music? We have a segment for conspiracy.
They need to change.
But
But
I don't
what
think
I'm
it's
saying.
conspiracy at this point.
it's because it's in the current atmosphere, it attracts activists.
Right.
It attracts people that don't really give a shit about serving. They only give a shit about yelling and screaming, making a big commotion, drawing attention to themselves. And then when it comes to the serving part,
pushing
it's-
agenda.
that too.
Yeah.
They could be paid by somebody.
Well, it's like Facebook. It's very good to talk shit
Oh,
when
yeah.
you're not standing in front of the person you're talking crap about.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Keyboard warriors.
It affects our kids because you've had kids commit suicide because of online bullying.
Yeah, by a person they've never met face to face.
Right. Or they know them from school and that's it.
Yeah.
But somebody said one thing at school and then everybody dog piles on them and beats them up on Facebook, TikTok.
And that's why my kids don't have social media.
I've used this example several times, and we're all old enough that we knew life without social media, correct?
yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
you got your haircut on Friday. Nobody knew about it until Monday morning at school, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, kids are getting bullied while they're still sitting in the chair because people are talking shit about their haircut, right? And these kids, they're not equipped to deal with stuff like that, and it's just crazy.
The children are the situations that happen with them on social media are horrific. But the same stuff's happening with adults.
Absolutely.
Adults are acting like children, and there's adults that killed themselves because they didn't get the positive attention or
and
affirmation
it's
they
not the
wanted.
kids that's getting bullied's fault. It's their parents.
Yeah.
It all comes down to parenting.
So it's responsibility, right?
Yeah.
and the parents are responsible for their kids, right?
Right.
And so I think y'all touched this with Lane the other day and about people being mad at cops and the cops being the face of everything, right?
Yes.
And the problem is that as police officers, we represent the consequence to their bad behavior, right?
Sure.
So if it wouldn't matter if it was cops, say it was the baker was charged with arresting this person for breaking the law, everybody'd hate bakers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Defund the bakers.
Yeah, we're the enforcement, right? We don't make the laws, right? Legislature does down in Austin. We're just there to enforce them.
Yeah, I think I was referencing Lane's the time he got into the quip with a news reporter about the libertarian presidential candidate.
Oh, yeah, I
about
remember that.
marijuana.
Well, yeah.
He was like, look, marijuana is illegal, and while it's illegal, I'm going to enforce the law on it,
Yeah.
period. And that's it.
Well, and
but he
the
pissed that reporter off so bad because that reporter wanted to get under his
Yeah.
Oh,
skin
yeah.
Right.
Yep.
and just get him to break character, and he never
It's
would.
it's like testifying in open court. Because, and I've said this to defense attorneys more than once in my career. I said, you'll have a special class in law school that they send you to just to screw with cops. Because their primary goal is to make you look bad on the witness stand.
Yeah.
And if you're not prepared when you go to testify, they will crucify you.
They'll
Oh,
get
yeah.
under your skin and make you.
And that's what they want you to blow up.
Yeah.
And the way he handled that reporter was
awesome.
fantastic.
Reporter. So,
I actually had a reporter from the Fort Worth Star Telegram one time write an article based on an interview with me. I'm working a midnight shift, and I was the highest ranking person there that night. And I was told, yeah, go ahead and talk to him. I told him everything. Well, I'm off the next day. I get woke up. The chief says, I need you in my office 10 minutes ago.
Now.
So I haul butt over there. Well, this was before you had cameras, body cams, or even cameras in the car.
okay.
I carried a micro cassette recorder
Oh, wow.
every minute that I was on duty
For your own personal protection.
for my own protection. And had I not recorded that entire interview, he was going to fire me. He wouldn't have taken my word for it.
Okay.
And I said, here's the interview. I never said any of that.
Well, editing.
Did
They can,
Sure.
it's just like we talked about earlier, right? I mean, you could record CNN, record Fox and NBC,
Get two different.
and they could have pseudo the same headline,
Yeah.
but they could spin it whichever way they wanted to.
Yeah.
Fiery,
It's-
but peaceful.
Yes, right.
Well, and
Well, did you leave? After that, were you like, screw you, I'm out?
no, I had some. I was wasn't long after that I departed for the state.
Yeah.
Yes, I just. But I did get to go back and help this department as a state employee, and it's a lot of people that make rank as a police officer or become a chief, an assistant chief, or whatever. They forget where they came from. I've been a lieutenant, a sergeant, and a corporal in my career. Those positions you always answer to somebody else. Now, people have asked me, so, well, who do you answer to?
As a constable.
Valid.
As a
Question.
constable. I said, basically, I answer to the voting public and the county commissioners,
Okay.
county judge, the commissioner's court.
Okay.
That's precinct 1, 2, 3, and 4 county commissioners and Judge J.D. Clark.
So you're there at all those meetings then?
I don't make it a lot of times. I'm out working because they're usually on Monday mornings. And if I've got something scheduled, if I don't, then I try to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's technically who your boss, if you will, is the commissioner of court.
If people
And the
want me
community.
to give them a boss, that's who I tell them.
Okay.
If you were ever to have to be reprimanded by anybody, who would that come from?
Yeah, that's a valid question.
In my opinion,
Besides the public.
besides the public, it would come from the commissioner's court, possibly the attorney general's office.
That's what I was going to say. It's got to be the attorney general's
If I'm
office,
going to
right?
be investigated, it's going to be done by the ranger.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, with any cop, usually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since we're like in this realm right now, everything is not untouchable. Like in police and being a police officer, a peace officer, sheriff, whatever, everything could be touched by corruption. And we've seen a lot of that, I think, happen. And I the dismissive part of it, when it first started getting exposed, like, well, it's just bad apples. Well, what happens if you don't get rid of the bad apples? They spoil the batch. So how do you see policing and law enforcement keeping corruption at bay from bad actors, or like you said, not to be conspiracy theories here, but people that might be paid to be bad actors and put into these places.
The one thing that comes to mind is now what we have to do, even when we hire a reserve.
Mm-hmm.
T-Cole has changed things. If I get a request from another agency on one of my guys, I have to upload their file to a system so they can look at it. And
Can you tell people what T-Cole means?
It's the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement Standards.
Okay.
That's who
licensed every police officer in the state of Texas.
So our peace officer license that I talked to you earlier about, so when we graduated academy and we take the state test, our license is issued by Texas Commission on Law Enforcement.
Right.
Okay.
All right. It used to be T-Close, but they changed it. They shortened it to T-Cole.
Okay.
But they license every peace officer in the state.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that mandate what training we're required to have, at what level, and
They maintain all your training, your certificates, where you're basic peace officer, advanced, intermediate, masters, whatever. They keep track of all that.
and it's like the reserves.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get paid. They pay for their own training, and every 4 years they have to take a civil class, and that's not cheap.
That you have to pay for?
That they have to pay
Oh
for.
my God. How do we get that changed?
We need a bigger budget.
Listen, you can do it online, or there's some agencies that host it, and it's an 8-hour class, right?
Yeah.
I'm paying for it. You know what I'm saying?
So,
Wow.
but I would say that's the best.
That's 8
thing.
hours you're not working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how can I put this? Are there bad law enforcement officers? Yes. If anybody says there's not, they're either crazy or they're lying.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I've seen them. I've worked with them. I've seen them go by the wayside. The best thing on top of what the state licensing does is what the upper management of your department does.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying, for me, it's not about your personal life. Unless you bring that personal life into my house, or what you do in your personal life sheds unfavorable light on my house, then we're going to have a problem.
Sure. Yeah.
I need you to do your job, do it professionally and safely.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I need.
Yeah.
We can't govern everything an officer does.
No.
It's impossible. Yes, if we had officers get involved in sex crimes, dope, smuggling dope, yes. Will that ever end? No.
Probably not. No.
Because of one thing, money.
Money.
Yeah.
And the human element.
I think there's a little bit more to it than that. You know, I think how do you judge somebody's moral character, right? I mean, it's very tough,
From
right?
your
On paper
of your own moral character, I guess.
Right. I think the sheriff's office application, I think, is 35 pages long, right? Wow. And then there's a background investigation. There's a polygraph, right? But as you said, you know, what you do at your house is fine. Just don't let work get involved, right?
Right.
But if you're arresting people for possession of marijuana and you're going home and smoking marijuana, that's a problem.
Right.
Right. So you have to find the right moral type character guy that you want working for you and with the same morals that the job requires. Right. I mean, it's just tough.
Ergo, good, as you stated,
or
good leadership.
That has never been in trouble before. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say, is because you don't know, you can't screen a person that is young, that's just right out of police academy, or an older police officer or whatever. Maybe he's never been presented with $2.5 million for.
Hey, I need you to look the other way.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, it's hard.
It's tough.
It's almost impossible to screen to that.
Right.
And I've had people ask me, relatives, friends, have you ever been tempted? I've been in rooms with enough money in it that I could have sent both my kids to Harvard and still have money left over. And somebody said, well, it was dope money. Who would know? I said, I would know.
Yeah.
You have to live with that.
I have to live with it. I have to be able to look myself in the mirror.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess I'm the same way, right? If I put my name on it, I'm not going to, it's not going afoul.
Yeah, you're
Right?
not going to slander your own
Yeah.
name.
No.
Absolutely
I'm not
No.
going to pencil whip a report just to put somebody
No.
in a set of handcuffs and put them in jail.
No.
It's like fishing. You catch them another day.
Well, people sometimes will, I won't say lie, but they'll, even if it's by omission, it's lying, right? So they'll leave stuff out, or they'll fudge on this or that, and I used to tell my kids even, some of the hardest thing you'll ever do is the right thing,
Yep.
right? And if you screw up, the best thing to do is get in front of it.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Right?
I guarantee you, there's nobody sitting here that hadn't screwed up. But you,
Right.
but
I don't know. He's pretty perfect.
you
at
don't.
I am, but-
You don't. The problem is, like, especially today's society, they want to blame someone or something else.
Instead of themselves.
Instead of themselves.
Take responsibility.
That's you got to take responsibility.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, Sarge, that was on. Yeah. Did you say that's that? Yeah, I did. Take your lumps and you go down the road because it makes it 1,000 times worse.
But now there's like profitability in not taking responsibility. Like,
Are you talking about from
I'm
joining
just-
up with
The
cartels
corruption.
or whatever, or
Yeah.
corruption? Yeah.
corruption, or I'm
corruption
just saying,
in general.
even from like the point of big pharma, like, oh, that person, he made those bad choices because he wasn't appropriately medicated for these conditions. I mean, and I guarantee you that's been played in court. Yeah, my defendant's crazy. He murdered 47 people, but
Right.
he's a nutcase. So
I can-
medicate him and put him in the insane. Well, I can't call them asylums anymore.
I've seen 2 people in my career that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Only 2. One was I had to go from Huntsville to Rusk State Hospital and bring back a guy that was in their section for the criminally insane and bring him back to Huntsville for a bench trial.
He said bench.
Bench.
Oh, okay.
Bench.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could have sworn I heard something.
E-
like
Yeah,
that.
I was like,
E-
dang, I've never heard about this trial.
Yeah, we got some real lingo going on.
And one guy in this county that killed his mother on a Mother's Day weekend just by just beating her and stomping her to death. Now, have I dealt with people with mental illness? Yes. But I've only seen 2 that I would say were criminally insane and didn't know right from wrong.
Wow.
Luckily, it doesn't happen often, right? People do stupid. People do stupid things all the time, but I would say, and this is, well, I'm on a different side of the coin than y'all are, but in general, most people get up every day wanting to do good, and then a few people don't.
Well, to that analogy, there's some people who wake up, don't know what time of day it is or what day of the week
Well,
it is.
that's true too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and they're
and they're in their pajamas that they've been in for the last 4 weeks, and they smell like dirty feet.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but they're not
We'll
evil.
talk about people that
They're
go to
not
Walmart like that.
Yeah, they might be quote unquote good for nothing, but they're not evil.
Well, they're not waking up wanting to do good.
Yeah. They're,
Yeah.
No,
Well-
that's valid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I've had the opportunity to talk to the kids, high school age, younger. I tell them, said, you don't have to go to college to be a success.
No.
Trade schools.
We
Yes.
have a shortage of welders and people to work on your cars, your AC
Tradesmen,
units, and all,
yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
Well, that's why
I said-
Biden's letting them come over. He's just fixing that problem, man.
I
Now we need
said, don't.
translators.
Got to go solutions.
The bottom line is, I tell them, said, don't be a drain on society.
Right.
Give something back,
Yeah. Absolutely.
to society.
Yeah.
And
It benefits you.
Right.
You think that you deserve something or you're entitled, you're going to be given something. There's no fulfillment in those thoughts. There's fulfillment in giving back to your society and it'll come back to you, right?
yeah, and this happened probably a year or so ago. Me and my wife were in one of the little restaurants down in Boyd eating lunch one day. And there were 2 guys sitting behind us and obviously in the computer business. And he's talking to one, he said, yep, I actually had a guy, 25, 26-year-old kid show up for a job interview and he brought his mom and dad with him for the interview. That's where our society has gone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all are younger than I am. Can y'all tell me what happened? When did this happen? Like when all of a sudden, like everybody gets trophies and and then if you're going to birthday present, you're going to get a gift too because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So, I mean, what the hell is that about?
It had to be after my childhood because
I thought my middle name was No because every time I asked a question, the answer was no.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
there's been little instances of each generation, more and more entitlements and more.
Did y'all get slapped in the back of the head if you backtalk to your mom?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
We were just talking about
Okay, so
that
it's
last
after
night.
y'all.
that's
Yeah.
what's wrong with us now.
We were talking about this
Slap the
last
hair
night.
off your head.
Yeah, but people try to defend the absence of discipline on they blame CPS, but
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not actually the case.
I whipped
don't
my child
think
with
so.
a fly swatter.
No.
CPS is showing up. I got whipped with a fly swatter. I had
Yeah.
to go cut my own twigs off
Switch.
trees.
Get your own
I've
switch.
done it.
Switch. I had broom handle.
Pair of
belt.
boots.
Yeah.
Honestly,
the belt.
I think it started whenever we quit texting by hitting multiple numbers. It's
This is coming from the
Made it
guy
too
that
easy.
showed up.
334448888.
Coming from the
God.
guy that showed up saying, I wanted to use Chat GPT to write
Yeah.
questions for the podcast. You're the problem.
I knew that
You're
was
the
coming back
problem.
around.
But I think there's kind of a loss of a moral compass, which is good for law enforcement because it's job security. You've always got more and more bad guys.
Yeah, but it's terrible for society.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's
speaking of
absolutely-
that, that's a good. You should be able to answer this. Can I whip my kid's ass if
Absolutely.
they're fucking up?
So the law
Not
states.
beat them.
You
the
looked
law
at me
states-
funny when I said I got whipped by a belt. So,
No, I did too.
Okay.
I mean, the law states you can use reasonable force to further the welfare and discipline of your child. Period. The end.
where is
Right.
the line of reasonable?
Okay,
and
now let me
unreasonable?
tell you what.
Yeah, because my reasonable and your might be different.
Same, right? If I show up, I don't know your kid. I don't know what you've dealt with him already, right? So CPS uses medical doctors for their opinion for abuse, correct?
We all know those guys are
And so
100%.
if
Yeah.
you're looking at a mark and your definition is if it lasts longer than 24 hours, correct?
Yes.
Then it's abuse.
Well, and to go even further, you have at Children's Hospital and at Texas Children's over in Dallas, you have groups that are
Care team.
care teams, and they're trained to identify the signs of
But
abuse.
the medical
yeah.
profession's definition of abuse is any mark that's left over
Yeah.
24 hours. Right?
Yeah.
So that's all we have to go off of because we're not medical doctors, right?
I mean, I got some licks
But
with
the
a
law,
belt,
but the law states, right? You can use reasonable
Yeah.
discipline,
Okay.
or use reasonable force,
Yeah.
Well,
right?
and I think we saw this coming because when I was a patrol officer in the mid cities, we actually got calls from parents wanting us to discipline their child. I'll never forget this lady, nice lady, 14-year-old son. Dad works out of town a lot. She gave us permission to spank him. And I said, ma'am, you should have thought about that 13 and a half years ago.
Yeah. Too late.
I said, now me and Junior will go outside with your permission and we'll have a chat.
Yeah.
And I assisted him out the back door and we had a 30-minute talk, but we never went back to that house because I told him if we come back, I will find a reason to send him to juvenile in Tarrant County. And I said, young man, there's boys in there that will cut your throat while they're eating a ham sandwich.
Yeah. That's a place you needed to be scared of.
But
Have a
we
healthy
actually
fear.
had parents, and this was in the 90s.
Yeah.
And as I look back, I'm going, gum, I didn't even think about it being worse now.
Yeah, I've been sitting eating lunch or whatever, and a mom and her child would walk by and say, "You better be good, or he's going to get you."
That policeman's
And
going
I'm
to
like,
put you in jail.
What does that tell kids, right?
Yeah.
To be scared of us,
Be
right?
scared of police officers.
And we want every kid to be able to know that they can call and trust us at any time, right? And it just makes it very difficult.
That's a really good way to put that. And a lot of people probably, they don't think that. Though.
No.
They don't think that.
Because they don't have any control at home because for whatever reason they gave it up, right? And so they're like, here, let's give it to this guy
We were,
who's just a uniform.
I don't know, I mean, how far we go into this, but even in school, we were talking about this last night. Like the teachers that I had, they had their wooden paddles on display, holes drilled in them for aerodynamic performance.
Yeah.
And,
Sixth grade, Keller Middle School, we had a teacher that chunked erasers.
oh, that's
And
my mom.
Chunked erasers at a kid and broke a kid's finger.
Holy cow, with an eraser? Like a whiteboard eraser?
Yeah, the backside's hard, bro.
That's true, I guess.
The wood ones that you have to
Yeah.
clank, clank.
I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
erasers aren't as good these days.
And you know what?
Yeah.
What was told to him?
Yeah.
I guess you ought not be doing that.
His fingers pointing.
That's
Yeah.
exactly. Well, that was and to answer your question on when did that change, I think, and I've always said this is when two things. Whenever we as when I say we, I mean as humans quit disciplining your kids, because we basically have. The majority doesn't. I don't feel like, but also the biggest thing for me, I think, is they took fear away from the kids. But you call it respect, you call it whatever you want. When you're a kid, you don't screw up because you're afraid you're going to disrespect your father. You don't screw up because you're afraid your father's going to come over and kick your ass.
Yeah, I've said it many times that there's a thin line between fear and respect, and I don't care what side I'm on, as long as you do what I ask you to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like take out the trash. I'm like respect your mother.
Yep.
Right. Don't be an asshole at school. Right. Respect your teachers.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand how it's not like that anymore.
No.
I don't either. And the message you could convey to these kids is, this is going to set you up to be a good person the rest of your life that's able to contribute to society,
Right.
Yep.
that's able to function in society,
Right.
and then one day become an older, wise leader
Yeah.
that helps. It's a cyclical thing
Right.
that just transcends
Yeah, because
generations.
the rule in my house was if you got a spanking at school,
Oh yeah.
you got 4 when you got home.
Yeah.
Guess how many whoopings I got in school? 1.
Yeah.
And it was bullshit. Bullshit.
Still arguing at that point.
Bullshit. I was trying to Mac Daddy on a girl, and I got a whooping.
Now, I think as you get older,
Bullshit.
there should be maybe somewhat of a rebellious phase, because I think that gives you a perspective. I think that helps you answer the questions of why. Why should I behave this way? Why should I? And once you
realize there's consequences.
Well, that's
work
what
your
I
way
was
through
gonna-
that phase and know this then you have a whole new respect.
Consequences
for
is another thing, is because the rebellion, it's going to happen. It's in us. It's in us all.
It's a human.
It's a human. So
it's usually
you're
right
gonna-
when you get your license.
Yeah, you're going to rebel, but like if you've been dealing with consequences from here, it's going to help that rebellion not go out and go, well, shit, I ain't worried about it. No, I'm going to go shoot this guy.
There's a difference between being rebellious and a little off the chains, but not psychopathic.
No, you're right.
But if you grew up, just think about it. So if you grew up with 0 consequences for anything you did,
you'll never understand.
and then at 16 you're like, shit, I'm gonna do what the hell I want.
got a license.
You got
And
no
let's-
worries.
And let's take it a step further, and we'll tie this all together, right? You get pulled over for a tag light being out because no one fixed it for you, and all of a sudden you've got an officer and you start being an ass to him, and he's like, "Well, I'm just going to take you to jail because your tag light's out and you're being an asshole."
Yeah.
Well, he's not going to say I'm taking you to jail because you're an asshole, but he's taking you to jail because your tag light's out, right?
Right. Yes.
And then they start running their mouth, right?
Yeah.
And y'all see these all the time, and that's
oh my god.
because they've never had any consequences.
I'm not a police officer, but Jesus Christ, I watch them videos, them cocksuckers pulling out their phones, and I'm like, beat his ass. Beat his ass.
Well,
it makes me so freaking mad.
My patience has developed over the years, right? Because, and I had to tell myself back in 2005, right? I'm not going to go to jail for anybody.
Right.
I've told my wife, I'll take a bullet for you, but I ain't going to jail for you.
Well, that even usually comes up when you're doing oral interviews when you hire somebody. And when I got hired by the sheriff's department, the guy that was trying to
I
ask
was on
the
your
question-
board, wasn't I? I think I was.
You may have been.
Yeah.
But one of the guys was trying to ask his question. I said, I can answer it. I know what you're getting at. I said, here's the deal. I said, there might be 5 people I'll go to the penitentiary for, and they're not sitting in this building. I am not, like he said, I am not, because you have to give away your honesty,
Integrity.
your integrity. You have to actually physically give that to somebody.
Yeah, and then live with yourself.
And then live with yourself. I'm not going to go to the penitentiary because you messed up and got caught.
Yeah,
I'm
you're-
not going with you.
Your honesty and your integrity is the only 2 things that people can't take from you, but you can give it away in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And we both have seen officers do it.
Wow.
Because once your name is tarnished,
That's it.
right? I mean, we've not mentioned any names here, but we all know who we were talking about, and everybody had the same impression, right? And I don't know if any of you know him
Oh yeah.
or know them, right?
Yep.
Whether you do or not, all you know is what you heard, right? So, yeah.
Yep.
And even compounded in today's age where it's on social media within milliseconds. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had a guy tell me long before, right around the time I went in the academy. Another guy that was well respected by me. He was like, "Act like you're always on camera because you never know when you're going to be."
Well, in today's times, you are.
Yeah, and this was in 05, right? So
Okay, so I got a really tough question. This one's tough. Why is it not honesty, integrity, and reputation?
what do you mean?
And they're kind of the one and the same, right?
Are they
Yeah.
in this world
They honesty, integrity.
yeah, but
where anybody can get on and slander you?
Yeah, but you can
online.
you can control your honesty and your integrity.
You can't really control your
can't-
reputation.
No, you can't control it.
Especially if you're
Not
law
with-
enforcement, right?
Well, anybody.
I'll put it.
I mean, well, just like you.
I mean, I don't know. Let's ask the professionals.
Right, but I mean, even in your profession,
Let me-
I mean,
Right.
you can't. If people are talking, man, Doc's a terrible doctor.
I mean,
this,
in
this,
some way,
I mean,
you can. It's like you can control the day-to-day interactions that you have with people in general, even though you have some shitty interactions every now and then. You know, it's got to be very similar as a law
I
enforcement.
think the difference in reputation is you have a reputation with your peers, other doctors.
Okay, valid.
We
right?
have reputations
Yep.
within the law enforcement community, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you know that guy? No, I don't know. I don't recognize that name. Well, you'll know this, and this is something that happened. Yeah,
Okay.
right.
I think,
Yeah.
Did you have something
Yeah.
to say, Mr. Applewhite?
Well, this was over a year ago. Gets to the kind of the crux of society and how they perceive law enforcement to a certain extent. Didn't know this person. Ran into this person at one of our local businesses one day. Walks right up to me and says, "You know you're a racist."
Whoa.
And I said, "Ma'am," "Ma'am, I don't know you. What do you mean?" "You're a cop. You're white and you're old."
she was from California.
And I said, "Ma'am, God bless you, and you have a nice day," because you can't argue with that.
No.
There's no reasoning.
That
with
person had already made up her mind that all cops are racist, especially white ones and old
And
ones.
old ones. Well, he told you earlier you're not an old man, though.
Yeah,
so, right?
that's true.
Yeah. No, that's
damn.
tough. I mean,
That's a day ruiner right there. Like, what do? Just go home and then call it a day after that?
I went back to work. I mean, I kind of was chuckling when I was walking out, and I'm going, like I said, you can't argue with people like that.
No.
You're beating your head against the wall.
Hopefully, karma came around and she actually had her ass saved at some point by a police officer. You never know. And
No,
then it's
but
like,
it hits close to a facet of society right now in that there's a large group of people and I think we went through a tough phase as a nation, obviously,
Yeah.
BLM, but we went through a tough phase where we thought the institution
Big Latino mamas.
Hey now,
Is that what,
and
is that,
canceled. Oh my God. Bureau of Land Management.
there you go.
Oh, that's what it is.
That's what
Yeah.
I thought you were referring to too.
Yeah.
When did the train get off the track?
Are you really marking
He's marking it, Mark.
this one's going as a highlight. That's what we're just going to name the podcast episode tonight. Big Latino Mama.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you got
Starring Charles Applewhite.
but you
Your
got
elected official in
I don't-
precinct 3.
Even
gotta
know where I
remember-
was.
Hold on. Oh my God. Too excited.
Okay, go on.
Y'all have got to remember, as law enforcement officers, we can't be offended at anything people call us.
No.
Right, yeah.
And when I was a young, first starting out, there was stuff that I got called that I had to write down and go look up what it meant.
Are you going to have to go look up Big Latino Mama?
No, I won't. I'm not going to punch that
It's
in
on
my
our playlist.
Yeah,
I'm not putting that in my into Google and find out what comes up.
I can
No,
see
thank
your
you.
wife coming in like, Big Latino Mama. What are you doing?
It's
Yeah.
research. It's research.
We may not hit 37 years. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Man. But what I was saying, you
Completely
know, like,
derailed.
oh
yeah. So we equate an institution as being racist, and then
Because of activists.
No,
Yeah,
not
I
necessarily
think we
because
know
of
enough
activists.
to-
I think it's based on your raising.
yeah,
Which leads you into a role
So,
of activism.
let's-
Just like when I talk about activists, I mean people that have nothing to do but screech and scream.
Yes,
for-
I understand
for-
what
for
you mean.
clout.
No, I understand
Yeah.
what you mean. Yeah, and it was the online generation, right? You got all these kids that you didn't find no 40, 50-year-old people out there raising hell,
No,
did you?
right.
Tearing up stuff? No. It's all these kids who
Yep.
have no consequences for their
But
actions.
somebody's responsible for instigating it and riling them up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's enough that's not a conspiracy anymore.
Right.
It's like we know there were dark forces,
Big money
behind
at
that.
hand. Sure.
Yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah.
Lot of money.
So we're all old enough to understand at some point you learn right from wrong, right?
Right.
Regardless of, regardless of how you were raised,
Yeah.
right? So at what age do you think you say, I don't think my folks were right. I think this is right.
That's your late teens.
Okay.
Yeah, early 20s, late teens.
Well, that's when you
Yeah.
that's
late
when you might
teens.
start thinking.
I would
it, yeah.
agree with that. Yeah.
This is why
I had
bring
my
this
moments.
up. I bring this up
Yeah.
because I've often thought that, because I know how I am, right? That if I was raised in the 60s, I think that I would stepped up and I would have marched with the black guys that were out there being
we think,
I'd like to think that, because I
would like
hate
to
bullies
think
of
that as
any
well.
kind. I am anti-bully of any kind, right? And it's just wrong.
Yeah.
And
if you're an American, you're an American.
Right. So I think that I'd like to think that I would have stepped up and seen, hey, this is my buddy. Come on, you can sit down and have lunch with me. They're not going to tell me no, right? That's my attitude on a lot of things.
But the hard reality is
Exactly. But again,
And I think
the guys that were prejudiced, for lack of a better term, they that's the way they were brought up.
Yeah, they were ignorant.
And that's
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what, off of what you're saying, you would hope that you would be
Exactly.
that.
At what point?
So you got to think. So at 18 years old, that's been preached into your brain for 18 years.
Right.
That's a hard switch.
Or you've been, watching the TV or your video games or whatever you've been exposed to.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're being attacked by several different fronts.
Man,
right?
that's valid.
Charles has got some sentiments I want to hear.
God, now I got to remember what I was going to say.
No, it just happens. We get derailed, go down the trail.
I think it depends too. People grow up in different parts of the country. Okay, I spent the first 17 years of my life in Florida, Pensacola Naval Air Station. I was born there.
Pensacola is a beautiful place.
My old man was in the Navy.
It was my first time through there last summer. Beautiful place. Sorry.
And we went to, played football with black kids, but we had 2 race riots while I was in high school. But nobody pulled out a gun or a machete and started killing it. It was, you handled it with your hands.
No burning.
And I guarantee you, everybody that drove a truck, there was a shotgun and or a rifle sitting in the back
window. Yeah.
Because before school during hunting season, you went hunting.
True.
So, and
we all live in a rural.
Yeah, we've been down
That's
this
tough.
path before.
We've done
In a rural community, right?
Royal.
I think it would be a very different conversation if we all grew up inner city. Pick one; it doesn't matter,
Right.
because we're not waking up and going hunting. We're not,
you're right.
we don't have rifles and shotguns.
Yeah.
I mean, out here we do, or did, right?
Right.
Inner city kids don't.
I lost mine in the lake. I don't.
But every
All of
time
our
I hear
guns.
somebody on the opposite spectrum, politically, beliefs of mine, now when they talk about, I'd like to have a firearm for my own personal protection. Hey, maybe it's you, you crazy conservative. I'm like, that's the idea. It's the great equalizer. Like,
You used to be able to argue with the other side.
yeah,
That's
and
huge.
not end up in
But now, if you don't have their opinion,
Yeah.
you don't even have a right to live
Right.
in their atmosphere.
Yep.
yeah.
Polarized.
Yeah, it's like you're here and you're here.
And that's where that's it. You can't move center of that. Yeah.
But I have a hard time
Same.
understanding and going, why did this start?
Yeah. Why do I need to align myself with one of these factions? I don't.
Because there's an R after my name on the ballot.
Because you have to run it under a party.
Retired.
Right, retired. Just a T for tired. But I'm a conservative. I was brought up that you worked hard for what you got. There's nobody, you put your hand out, nobody's going to put money in it unless you do a job.
But everybody should have an equal opportunity to work hard for.
Or if you come across the
simple.
border illegally now, you can get that.
Well,
And a phone, so they can call you and let you know when your court date is.
because I've got friends that are other nationalities, and we talk, And I asked a couple of them, I said, what do you think if you could bring Martin Luther King alive for 30 minutes? Every one of my black friends told me, said he'd be the most pissed off black man on the planet.
I've heard that multiple
because
times.
he wasn't asking for a handout. He just wanted an even playing field.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
My mom, God rest her soul, she taught me and my sister. Yes, the Bible says you treat people the way you want to be treated. She added one caveat to that. Treat them as a human being. That didn't kick into me till I got in this business.
Okay.
You treat someone as a human being, that takes away race, sex, sexual orientation, religion, how much money you make or don't make. And guess what? That's what we all are. This is just simply an outer wrapper.
Sure. Yeah.
And trust me, I have seen the insides of any race you want to name.
All looks the same.
Either on an autopsy table or out in the field.
Depends on what happened.
And it all
What's left?
A heart looks like a heart, looks like a heart.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in our today's society, everybody's got to do this. They want to point a finger and blame somebody. We need to put you in this box because you're this. We're going to put you over here because you're that.
Sure. Yeah.
What does that create? Division.
Yeah, absolutely. Tension and division.
And I honestly don't care the color of a man or woman's skin. It means nothing. It's
A few years ago, there was a box added to our ticket books. Did you know the race of the driver before you stopped them?
yes.
Yeah.
And we had to check that box.
That's on Decatur's now. I've seen it in the
And I'm like,
deal. Yep.
Does it matter?
That's part of the racial profiling
that's
that we
exactly
follow.
what it
they
is.
have to log in racial profiling.
Yep.
Wow.
And I'm like, I treated everybody with respect. Now, how I reacted to how they treated me was maybe a different thing, right?
Right.
But everybody was, hello, sir, hello, ma'am, right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, now we're going to move it up a little bit.
Well, we grew up, we were supposed to be taught not to see color.
Yeah.
Right.
But now what's racial?
I would say
racial,
we probably were taught that.
Yeah, we were. Now it's like, it's promoted. You're supposed to see races.
Color.
You're supposed to see color. You're supposed to elevate or make this, marginalize this person because of their color. And identity politics is what they call it. Yeah. And now it's like,
And Barney would know this. You live on a major naval base. It's not only your Navy there. You have navies from our NATO partners that come in and may be there for months training.
My last duty station was at a NATO command.
Yeah, I've been around people from all over the world. So I've lived on base housing. And it galls me sometimes. And you got why we can't get young people to understand you got to take responsibility for what you do.
Well, they've never had to at home.
They've never had to do
not
that.
held accountable at home.
And I've told parents, I said, you want me to tell you why we're dealing with your kid?
Because you have it.
Because you won't.
Yep.
You've had a hard day at work. You're sucking down your second martini, and you give them a $50 bill and tell them to get out of my hair. I'm
Or
tired.
you've given them a 12-inch iPad.
Yes.
And said, here you go.
And we wind up dealing with them.
Yeah.
Law enforcement, I should say. But unfortunately, I believe it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Well, let me ask this. All right. Correlating, what my statements were about your rebellious phase, your coming of age and your understanding why I think the way I think. Do you think the 2015, 2016, BLM area, defund the police,
Did we get past it?
Yeah. Are we past it? And is that probably a necessary thing that happened? Because it brought us defund the police. It brought chaos and urban downtowns that were vacated.
Right.
And now people are understanding no, we need to fund the police. They need more funding. It gave everybody a perspective of what the fucking place looks like without law enforcement.
So for whatever reason, our federal government has decided to say, hey, look, this one speck of the smallest minorities needs to be recognized, and the rest of us have to bow to them. That's what happened. right?
But there was a.
But there may have been a few. There may have been a few, but it's still like maybe 0.3% of the population is in these categories that they expect everybody to cater to.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're like, what?
Yeah.
And now our kids are having to share bathrooms, and locker rooms, and
well,
he
likens it, or
go ahead.
You've given it the nickname "America's Psychotic Episode," which continued from like 2015 to now.
Yeah.
I agree.
I do hope we are kind of emerging through that psychotic
in
episode.
hindsight, maybe it was necessary to give everybody
This is what you wanted. This is what you got.
perspective
And
of-
how do you like it?
Do you want chaos or do you want law and order? So you can have society. So you can have businesses in downtown. So people can walk out on the street, spend money freely, live.
I know, but with that said, we have more schools that are putting in like litter boxes.
Yeah. I think it helps to a certain point.
Okay.
Yep.
But you look at the cities, you still have mobs going in and just taking everything they can and running out the door and nothing's done.
No consequences.
There's no consequences. But then you look over here, some poor guy was on the steps of the Capitol and he's serving 18 months in the federal penitentiary for standing there.
Being in the wrong spot, basically.
Well, there's some dude that I seen, I don't remember, somebody, he got pushed. I think Chad might have been telling me this. He got pushed
over the railing?
Over a barrier.
Over a barrier.
And now he's facing life in prison.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, because he got pushed. The mob pushed him and he fell over the barrier. They arrested him for getting where he wasn't supposed to. Now he's threatening life.
Was it on the gut check program? Or I think it was their podcast. They were talking about a person that wasn't even, they were on the plane traveling to DC for business. They weren't even going to the Capitol.
Yeah.
But because they were on a plane going to that destination, they're on a watch list. They have people following them.
And that's
crazy.
That's a surveillance
and I'm
state,
sorry
right?
that's sad.
Yeah.
We gave up a lot of freedoms, I think, after 9/11, under the guise of keeping us safe.
Sure.
But we've allowed that monster out of the bag, so to speak.
Yeah, the monsters are due on Mayberry Street.
Yeah, when we have allowed our government officials to bastardize that, and that's exactly what they've done.
Yep.
They are using it to further their political agenda.
So when they take the Patriot Act, that's supposed to be from everybody over there that wants to harm America, right? And they start flipping around on the citizens, problem.
It's a problem.
Well, but the sad part is you have law enforcement agencies filled with people that are just going along with that.
Because they got jobs, they got families, they got to support, right?
Would you call that a form of corruption?
If you're doing what you're told to do?
Even though it's from the United States government?
That's a tough one.
Here's the thing.
If you morally, from your moral compass, feel that it's wrong.
If I was told to lie or to steal or cheat, I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
Period. Now, if I was told to, I need you to run an investigation on this guy. Why? Because I told you to. Yes, sir.
Okay.
What do you need to know? Standard investigation. Okay.
What about when it comes time and they go, I need you to go out to Heath's house and take his guns? I would suggest don't be sick on that night. But
No, that won't happen.
Well,
Not in this county.
Well, I can tell you right now because
I don't believe.
I've
I
had
don't think
even
it
when
will.
I was campaigning for this position, I had people ask me that.
Yeah.
I said that would probably be the day that I took the badge off for the last time and set it on my desk and walked home.
and that's my hope. I'm hoping there's more people like that. That's in that. Even
It's unconstitutional.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff unconstitutional that we're so-called doing right now.
Right now, yeah.
How many people just came across the border? Unconstitutional.
I see it's not so much a parallel. That's more of a perpendicular thing. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Is it unconstitutional, both of those? Crossing the border illegally and then confiscating guns?
Different. Yeah. I see. Yeah.
And it's
But
and
what
that's a
Because
like I
the
said,
president has allowed that.
Right.
you know,
I mean, the
that-
buck
that-
stops with him.
According to Sheriff Aiken, it stops with him in his county.
Yeah. He don't even answer to the
He
president.
doesn't answer
No,
to Joe
and
Biden.
I know what he means. Yeah, but and I wish that y'all had. I watched that episode, and I'm going to call in and ask him. But I don't know. We used to have when I was on patrol. If we stopped somebody that was undocumented, we'd call INS if we were arresting them.
Right.
Right. If there was not a chargeable offense, see you later.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think?
So is not having a driver's license, is that because you can't get one?
It's not. It's
Oh, okay. It's
And
not arrestable.
some of them
under the
always had like
purview.
some type of international. I mean, you couldn't read the damn things anyway.
There's only 2 traffic offenses you cannot be arrested
There we
for
go.
in the state of Texas.
You cannot be?
Cannot be.
Oh, okay.
Speeding?
Speeding. What's the other one?
It's not seatbelt. You can go to jail for no seatbelt, right?
Open container.
Ah.
That is the only 2. Tag light out.
You can't go to
Headlight
jail
out.
for an open container?
Nope.
It's a ticket.
Huh.
So remember this in your audience, right? If you're being mouthy to the cop and he pulled you over because you didn't use your turn signal, he can arrest you and tow your car.
So, but if you had an open container and then you become a douchebag, then you can get arrested, right?
yeah.
You could be. Yeah. If,
Right,
if
for-
you're,
well,
you're
depending
probably
on how.
if an officer sees that, you're probably going to do field sobriety tests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
To both, if they're smart.
Just don't be a
Before they-
douchebag
before
to
they
let
you
law
go.
enforcement.
Yeah.
Period.
So I wanted to bring this up, listening to Lanes, and I'm glad I just reminded again. Have y'all ever had to call 911?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, I called the ambulance for my mom, but
okay.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty traumatic situation,
Yeah.
right?
From a wreck.
yeah.
You
From
have?
several wrecks.
Okay, but
yeah.
you remember them
Yeah.
each time?
Yeah.
So it was significant enough that you still remember this day.
Yeah. Even
All right.
me. Yeah.
All right. So each deputy probably answers 12 to 15 calls a day, maybe let's say 8 to 12 calls a day, right? On a 12-hour shift. That person's worst day when they have to call 911, right?
Yeah.
Is that officer's every day, right? So you learn to compartmentalize, or as officers, you learn how to compartmentalize, you learn how to leave it at work if you can, you know, and then you may have a very good, what you think, arrest, right? And you follow that case through the courts and realize the case was dismissed in the interest of justice.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to
So
do.
much,
It had
for,
nothing.
so much for all your compartmentalization.
Well, and then you're like, okay, why did
am
I
I
work
doing?
this hard if
Right.
nobody cares but me?
Well, and that's the
you
reason-
have to fight through that.
And that right there is the reason why San Francisco, Seattle, the police officers just basically quit arresting people because of that reason right there.
Yeah, they weren't being prosecuted.
Not well, they were, but the next night they let them out the next day just so they
Or they were being told not to as well.
yes.
That's
Yeah.
And you talked about being arrested right now for a Class C. Unless there's something else going on, is not going to happen because the jails have. How can I put this?
Sometimes there's not
There's
enough
a
staffing,
lack of room.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Okay.
whether it be staffing or the jail's full or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So there each. I don't know if Lane broke this down, but there's each jailer or detention officer, whatever they want to be called, is there's a ratio, right, per prisoner per jailer.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
however many inmates you have to have X
So many
amount
people.
on duty.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so if you have a shortage and you got guys working comp time, filling shifts or whatever, then okay, now we're not going to. Hey guys, unless you got a murder or something, you know, we're not going to house.
Send them home with a ticket.
Yeah.
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 And
That's just management.
And that's
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's nobody's fault.
No.
You know, that's just
Way it is.
the way society is right now.
I don't. I'm glad I'm not the one pegged with, the left coast and all their issues cleaning. I don't know how you correct all that.
They
but
created it themselves.
They did,
Yeah.
but that's a big hole to
Jeez.
dig out of. I mean, even if you put in the right people, that's going to be years
Yeah.
worth of work.
Well, and you've got it's that society's how they look at things.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's ever going to go back
Yeah.
to where it was.
Yeah, we're just disconnected from it.
Been through, went through Rodney King, things swung over to the left, and I don't mean
Not racially.
not racially,
Right.
Right?
but then the citizens got tired of the dope dealers and the gang members, and
And they took it upon
and then-
themselves.
either they did it or they let the police officers off the leash to do their job again, and it went back to central.
Okay, so our friend Carson Sands is a big proponent of that. He's like, let private property owners enforce their private property rights. Because if you're not afraid of the consequences from the police officers or law enforcement, maybe you can be afraid from somebody defending their business, defending their family, defending their property.
Yeah, but that's a really slippery slope because
Is
then
it?
you're going to
it
get
is.
you're going to
It
get
is.
into people of I had to run in because I was about to take a crap, and that dude shot me.
Okay,
But you're going to get into it, and this guy's going to be like, "Hey, I was protecting my business. I thought he was coming in here to murder me."
If there's mobs and riots in your street, burning places down with guns,
Well, you're right,
that's
but
a different circumstance.
It is, but that's why I said that's where it's going to get into a slippery slope, because you're going to have to now go, well, okay, you can shoot them if there's a mob. You can shoot them if there's a riot.
Yeah.
Well, you've got
So it's real slippery.
You have, and it's not necessarily in Texas, but you've had homeowners sued by a burglar or someone that's broken in their home because they've hurt themselves.
They didn't get killed or whatever.
Some
They
dude fell through a skylight or something like that. Yeah,
Or got trapped in a chimney.
Yeah.
Do you remember that
something-
story?
I think so,
something,
yeah.
So
But-
I mean, that's where you're at.
And again, that's society. We've allowed our courts to,
Yeah.
a lady goes to the McDonald's drive-through and spills
That's where
hot
it started.
coffee on
Hot
it.
coffee.
That's the one that
I think you're
started it
right.
all.
and
think you're
sues-
right.
The coffee
and
at
sues-
the
and
McDonald's.
sues McDonald's.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was the 90s. Yeah, that's where it all started.
I think it is.
That's
I
where
think
it-
what's going to have to happen to change
Okay,
things
so we've
is
decided it. Yeah.
It's been 100% fact
the hot
checked.
coffee lawsuit.
I think what's going to have to happen is these cities, if they want to turn things around, they're going to have to get people in there, and it's going to have to be like the equivalent of all right, daddy's home,
Yeah.
and ripping his belt off, and like you screw up, you're getting spanked,
Right.
and they're going to have to set and just start following the laws that are already in place.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember who was. It was somebody was interviewing somebody about the border, and I think they interviewed one of the agents, or he might have been like somebody up, and he says, and the dude interviewing was like, "What do you guys need to do?" He says, "We just need you to follow the law that's already on the book and
Exactly.
let us do it. That's
Yeah.
all we need. We don't
Yeah.
need more people.
Yeah.
We don't need more money. Just let us follow what's in the law."
My statement, I think, reflects at places like California where there is massive civil unrest and gangs of people getting away with whatever they want to. That's where I think, for lack of a better term, if your leadership's failed you, if your city councils allowed this stuff to go on where you can't conduct your business in a safe place anymore, is some vigilantism the answer?
Yeah,
In
but
a
could you
form of?
imagine
I mean,
if you owned a business in California and you just started shooting people that was stealing your iPhones out of
Yeah,
your own
you
business? What they would murder you.
I mean,
So
They
you
would
remember-
crucify you on the city
Yeah,
streets.
you remember
bro.
during BLM, you had
Koreans
people
on
who-
rooftops.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that wasn't BLM. That was the Rodney King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. But even during
But I
BLM,
think, yeah,
you
they
had
did too. Yeah.
people who enforce their property, and they were becoming the subject of national.
They're
news.
racist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there weren't enough of them. When you had a whole community of Koreans on rooftops
Yeah.
protecting their businesses, okay,
Yeah.
we get it. We're not going to come down your district.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Right.
power in numbers.
And now
that-
you've got they're even targeting business or name businesses, where it be Target or whatever. That we're closing. We're not, or we're not going to rebuild because you
We're
burn
out.
it to the ground.
Yep.
So now they're going, oh, you're abandoning us. No, you burnt your stores down.
Yeah, you destroyed your own little local civilization. So
And that's what's
Yeah.
crazy about it is they're doing it in their own actual hometowns.
Yeah.
Like
And then
they're
they're-
going to want to go to that Target and go shopping tomorrow.
Well, they got to get back home. They can't be traveling too far.
But
like, good
knock on wood, we're not quite to March during an election year, and the last iteration of this didn't happen till after March. So I mean, I think this year will tell a lot. How far we've come from the last election,
maybe
and so we shall see.
we still might be right in the middle of the psychotic episode.
It is psychotic. I seen a Trump interview today, and he goes, "I basically fly over a blue state now, and I get impeached." Or get
I heard he won South Carolina. So
he
that's
did.
good.
I know.
Nikki Haley just can't let it go either.
Oh no.
I think she's hoping that he gets arrested or gets disqualified.
Damning that.
Jesus.
Yeah, that may be
Well,
the case.
and she sounds like somebody who's never been told no or never been held
yeah.
accountable either. So
Who got second in South Carolina?
Nikki
I don't know.
Haley.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was only 2 on the ballot. No.
Well, DeSantis had 1%.
I thought he withdrew.
He's not.
did.
But he
Yeah,
was
but
just telling me.
they're still on the ballot.
They're all still
Yeah.
on.
They're
local
all
ballots,
still on the
all of
ballot.
them.
Yeah.
Yep, they all are, because I went and voted earlier in the week.
Yeah, I voted on the Tuesday after the early, and I was like, "What are they even?" Because I mean, and that's what my question was. I was talking to Chance about it. Is if you vote for them, is that not a wasted vote? Because I mean, they're not even running for president anymore.
It is wasted.
Yeah, but some people have like principle, and
Well, yeah.
Okay, well, positively.
You're right. It's a wasted vote.
Bring it back
but-
up to a
yeah.
positive level, man. We've had really, really great conversations with county and city
We have.
and
This has
state
been
leaders
awesome.
at this table.
Yeah.
And it's been really just relieving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're in a great state. We're in a great area with
It feels like a
great
bubble.
people.
It really does.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, you can travel out of state lines and you can see some places that are like, ooh, they need some help. They need some good leadership.
Well, and I
going
think
on.
for our county right now, you have 4 constables that are wanting to do the job. They're out here working,
Yeah.
and they see the importance of what we do.
Okay.
And if we weren't here, what burden that would put back on others.
Okay.
And I think that's the most aggravating part of it is you have people wanting to do the work, and we just need a little bit of help.
What do you find is the most fulfilling part of it for you, and what keeps you going?
Good question.
The worst part is my job is the evictions. I don't like them,
Okay.
but I have to do it.
Yeah.
You can say coming on this podcast.
Do I?
I mean, do
You,
you,
you
worst
can
part
you can
is
say
talking-
coming on this podcast is the best.
do you
thing.
ever love it? I mean,
I've got one.
you gotta, yeah.
I've got one.
It's not necessarily serving somebody a paper or
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the people I've met, because not everybody gets upset when I wouldn't been expecting this. And I've been thanked by some moms that their deadbeat husbands won't pay child support that we found and got served.
Yeah, that was the one I had.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's probably the most fulfilling thing. Or just
You're part of a due process system, right?
right.
Like you're fulfilling that national need of due process. But personally, that's nice that you said that, because we hadn't talked about that all night. There's a flip side to all this. You're serving something, I guess, massively negative for the most part to one party, but there's another party on the other end that
Right.
is benefiting from
that
that.
they say
Yeah.
they've been wronged, and the only person that's going to determine who's at fault is going to be a judge.
Mhm.
Because like JP courts, where we're required to bailiff our JP's court anytime they're in session.
Okay.
It doesn't say you can if you feel like it. It says in the code of the local government code, you shall. As a constable, you shall be in court, bailiff that court if it is when it is in session. But it can start at the JP court. Like, let's say an eviction. The defendant loses, or even the plaintiff who brought the suit loses. They have an avenue to appeal. From JP court, it goes up to the county court law judge, and it can go all the way. JP courts are just a start. It's called the people's court. It's not like, sometimes we have attorneys in there. A lot of times it's just Joe and Bill arguing over that lawnmower.
Fence lines.
Right, or fence line.
What does that mean? You shall bailiff. What does that mean?
We have to bailiff court. You are armed in there.
Okay.
All rise, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
You swearing in jurors,
Like you're the
swearing in.
master of ceremonies.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you're the bailiff. You're there to keep the peace in the court proceeding.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
So when he said "shall" in all throughout the penal code, there is "you may," and if it ever says "you shall," that means you don't have any choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Violation of protective order, you shall arrest. Right.
Okay.
So there's "you may" and then there's "you shall."
Okay. Wow.
So it can be very interesting. I've actually some of the hearings that we have had in that JP court, some of them have gotten a little hairy,
Yeah.
and almost to the point where I thought I was going to have to snatch somebody up and take them to jail. But I've also learned. I've always said law enforcement is you never learn everything. If you reach a point to where you think you know everything, it's time to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's time to go. It's kind of like doctors. They call it practicing medicine for a reason.
It's true.
Because they're always
And lawyers,
Yeah.
lawyers practice law, right? But cops are expected to get it right
yeah.
the first time,
Yeah.
with like split second decisions, right?
That's
And
what we
it's-
call a technician.
That's true.
I'm practicing life.
Yeah,
That's what.
exactly. Right. So, lawyers and doctors, how long do y'all have to go to school?
Oh, a long time.
Like 8 years?
Yeah, 8 to 12,
Yeah.
8 to 13.
Right. And we get like 300 hours.
Yeah.
training.
Yeah.
Right. And then they say, here's your gun and here's your keys and don't end up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, but you have the responsibility of taking people's liberty.
Yeah.
Right.
Or their lives.
Or their
Or their
life.
life, yeah.
Right.
And you have to be able to do that in a split second if need be.
Yeah.
I have a really tough question.
You keep saying this, and your question is not that tough.
I was gonna say.
They've been tough all along, right? Do you think the show?
Why are you looking at me?
No, I don't know. You're inspiring with your left eye thing. Okay, so you look at there's a story behind that too. We need to read
The
out.
show.
No,
The left
How
eye.
you got
I was talking about
you got him all messed
Chance's
up.
left eye.
What's wrong
Okay.
with my left eye?
It's your good eye.
Is it closed?
No, that's
It's my
like
good eye. It's my seeing eye.
whatever. That's okay. Yeah, there's a story about your past life in that eye.
Oh yeah, and the hole in the back of my
Yeah,
head.
I'm not wait, but we'll hit on that at
Okay,
some other
okay.
point.
All right.
Okay. So do you think the
that one.
show
Rabbit
Cops helped or hurt the profession?
Helped,
Okay.
I think,
Okay.
because it was, well,
I thought it was a difficult question, but
no, from what I gathered, a lot of it wasn't edited.
Oh,
true.
Right.
Especially the early shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't like, I mean, they showed the initial response, then they showed the arrest or the let go, right?
Yeah.
Now, you never knew what happened when they got to jail or how
Sure.
the case proceeded, and they didn't show names, right? It showed you act a fool, you go to jail.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you run away, you get chased.
You get caught.
Sometimes by a cameraman.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
The only thing, any cop show, whether it's made in Hollywood or it's action, true life, whatever, there's always one thing they never show: paperwork.
Yeah.
Even as a constable, we have an ungodly amount of paperwork we have to do.
Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah,
No.
That's not the glamorous part.
And when
yeah.
I first started, we didn't have the computers we'd type.
yeah, you had
Our handwritten. And it didn't take you long to make sure you spelled a word right and used punctuation, or a sergeant was going to bleed red all over that.
Wow.
And you just spent an hour and a half writing a 4-page report, and
you
you got to
gotta start
redo
over.
it. Oh yeah, you
start.
learn
No, whiten it out. Start
Well,
it
unless
over.
things change, right? There's like a form when you on the bottom of the booking sheet, right? When you put all their information in, and there's like a little thing. It says why are they here, right? And,
Yeah.
and that's your little quote PC affidavit for why you arrested them, and or like a summary on their booking sheet, right? And you're like, I type because my writing sucks. You know what I mean? And there's nothing like getting a call the next morning when you've been up all night.
what does this
you know,
even say?
From the jail sergeant said, "Hey man, the JP can't read your writing."
Oh man.
Get him some
They
glasses.
never give us that call.
And
Right. So I would
Yeah.
always copy it, leave the original there, and I would type it out and attach it to the back of it, take it back to the jail. Because, I mean, you know, if you ever looked at a citation before that's filled out, these cops have terrible writing because we type everything.
Everything now is
And
typed.
it's not like you're sitting at your desk where you can just sit back. You're sitting on a clipboard,
in the car.
maybe in the rain or whatever.
And
yeah.
now it's got to match up with dash cam.
yeah.
And
Well, shoot, now they carry the little
The writers.
printable. They just
Yeah.
do it and it prints the ticket right out to you.
yeah, that's a ticket. But
Yeah.
if they arrested you,
Those are city guys.
Yeah.
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 So the show Cops did some good. What about Reno 911?
That's funny.
But you like
I'll put it this way:
Super Troopers.
You can count. You can count on
Right, meow.
one hand the number of Reno 911 shows that I watch.
one, I'm guessing.
It's funny.
They're all great.
Okay,
Yeah.
but the biggest affront
New
to
boot
law
scooter.
enforcement happened all the way back in the 50s, right? Like the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, Barney.
Yeah,
Barney
Barney. Yeah,
Five.
Barney.
I get that a lot. You got your bullet? And I'm like, I got 46 of them.
Yeah, but that
Which one
was,
you want?
You know, obviously that show was through the lens of the law enforcement,
Yeah.
but you know, it was kind
there
of
was the
harken back to an age
The streets
where,
of Mayberry.
yeah, the law enforcement was part of the community. I think it still is, but
Never,
You
And
know,
that's all they did in that show is community policing, except for the town drunk that had to go sleep it off. And he'd wake
But-
up next day and send him on his way.
Yeah.
yeah, even there,
Yeah.
you know, it's like he would just go sleep in the jail.
because he'd be the sheriff at one point.
Wasn't even armed.
Bring somebody in, and he'd sit down at his desk. Okay, court's in session. He'd turn the sign around. It'd say justice on the peace on the other side of his desk.
Now, you didn't ever have hardcore meth head, right, on Andy Griffith.
No.
No.
So in some way, that's not a match for reality.
I don't remember there ever being a crime other than drunk and disorderly.
Yeah.
Well, every once in
Yeah,
a while
valid,
they'd be
right?
they'd be an escaped prisoner or something, or some bad guy would come through town, and I think, but even the way he handled that, it kind of
We'd walk up and down Main Street, be on the lookout for this guy.
and he would find him. He did what he had to do to take care of the situation.
Yeah.
But it was he was there to take care of that town.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like when I went to work in the mid cities, I was, oh Lord, it was culture shock.
Oh yeah.
Because I was used to roaming all over the place.
Yeah.
But I fell into a groove eventually of how they wanted policing done in that city. The only negative thing I could say is they always would preach, don't get us sued, don't get us sued, don't get us sued. I'm going, dude,
Yeah.
we could get sued just by showing up.
Yeah. Just by looking at somebody wrong.
But now it has gotten worse than it was back then.
What do you think now that the meth stuff has kind of moved out? What's the biggest issue in Wise County constantly? The most prevailing.
It's still drugs.
Still drugs, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and everything that follows along after that, domestics.
Oh yeah. All fallout.
Yeah, drunk driving,
Stealing,
stuff like that. Yeah.
because you got people that are stealing to feed their drug habit because it's just so prevalent coming in.
Yeah.
They're shipping that stuff in by the truckloads, the plane loads. Down in Mexico, they make that stuff in buildings the size of 747 hangars.
Yeah.
If you want it, they make it.
What do you think the second most thing is?
I just was to say I've seen a few pickups in sexual assaults.
Yeah.
I was going to say pedophiles. 'Cause God
That kind of
dang,
goes in there too. Yeah.
when the paper comes out and they got them in, I'm like, holy shit. How do we have so freaking many of them? Are we not hard enough on them? I mean, what's the deal with this?
We still,
Mark that. Yeah, mark it.
Yeah.
Are we not hard enough for them?
we still,
It's an issue, though. I mean, because I used to live in
I'm
town.
just joking, Chance.
And I'd get a paper in the mail saying, hey, 6 of these guys lived in the vicinity of your house.
So here's the thing, right? They do their time, right? And that's a prison system. However, if you're sentenced to 20 years and you only have to do 6, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
But you still have to register, right? So
I feel
Yeah,
like
that's true.
some of their reasoning is, oh, well, I know one personally that we used to run around with. And I mean, I read the affidavit of the shit that he did. And I'm like, you need to
kill yourself.
Die, yeah.
Okay.
But
I didn't
that's
say
where
that,
it
but
gets
that's
into-
Choke yourself.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing as what you were talking about with the store owners. It's a slippery slope
But
when
he's-
you start saying,
he's out now. And I talked to somebody, I'm like, why would you even show your face? I would move.
Yeah.
I would leave
But you
anybody
still-
that ever know me.
you
And
still have that part of society that believes they can be rehabilitated.
yeah. But that's the thing. It's like, oh, well, he turned to Jesus. And I'm like, how much of that is bullshit?
He's down there at 200 Rook Ramsey.
yeah, that's where he's at.
That's where he found him, right?
Let's send all those guys to Kenneth Copeland.
Now, look, does everybody get a second chance? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
but there's
well,
some crimes, in
no.
my personal opinion.
Not everybody.
I'm not speaking for any office that I work for or anything like that. But my personal opinion, no, there's some things you can't recover from.
That's right.
No.
And I firmly believe that. And it's like, okay, move to Midland out in the sand somewhere by yourself, or
Yeah.
I say Midland because it's the only desert area I can think of right now. But you know what I mean? It's like,
Elon wants to put people on Mars.
There you go.
Well, as you think about it,
send them to Epstein's Island together. It's vacant.
Barney's
Now we're
seen
talking.
it.
Is it?
I've seen the interviews with those kids, and you're just sitting there.
Oh, I know.
You're talking about the number of hours that doctors have to put in. My daughter's a licensed therapist, and while she was doing her master's degree work at Dallas Baptist, well, she had to do these internship hours, over 3,500 hours before she could take the state licensing test. Police Academy's what, 17 weeks?
Something like that. Yeah. 300 hours, something like it was.
Well,
something like-
she did it at Child Advocacy Center in Denton and in Flower Mound. And I warned her. I said, be prepared. I said, you're going to hear stuff come out of these kids' mouths, and you're going to be going, why do they even know about it?
Yeah.
And she did. The first night, she called me crying. I said, I told you. That's what. And her first job was working with a company that did nothing but foster kids. And it finally took a toll on her.
But those kids need her. You know? And it's
Now she sees adults too, but she sees mostly kids.
those kids need more and more people like her, and that's a huge trade off because she's given parts of her life for them.
And but you see, you and do those types of investigations, man. You have to be able to compartmentalize them.
It wears on you.
So we've been how many decades in the drug war now, and it just gets worse, right?
I've always hated that term, the war on drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the war
50
on
years
terror.
or something.
Yeah.
What do you think proposed solutions have you ever conjured up might slow drug trafficking down or?
So that's not really the issue, right? The issue is if you have people aren't fulfilling their full sentence. Why? Because there's not enough room.
Sure.
Right. So this starts a whole other issue, right? So build more prisons.
Yeah.
Stack them. Just start building on top because they don't have enough land. So just start building floors. I mean, that's a nonviolent crime, right? So you only have to do the third a year, 20 years.
Yeah.
Then they go out and shoot somebody the next time. Oh, well, there's laws on the books for the third time, right? For felonies and misdemeanors. We call it the big bitch and the little bitch, right?
Okay.
Yep.
So you catch the bitch, whatever. It's the third time. If you've been convicted of the same thing, then it's a longer sentence. If it's not life, I don't remember what it is.
Yeah. For the big ones, it's usually life.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So
Do you think consumption keeps prevailing because society looks more and more hopeless every decade or every year? Like there's a lack of happiness, a lack of fulfillment, and people want to turn to something that I guess causes them or, lets them detach. They want to live outside of reality. Because,
listen, in some aspects, we are where our parents were at some point, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? So growing up, what do y'all listen to that crap for? Right? Everybody's heard it, regardless of which generation you're in. Everybody's heard it.
That's an element of growing up
Right.
or parenting.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, they dealt with the Vietnam War and how terrible that was. That was their crisis, right? And then in the 70s, it was Iran and all that stuff and the gas prices, right? And all that stuff, right? So this is just another thing that's in ours.
Another crisis. For
I think
our
we're just going to keep
generation.
evolving, and you can go back in time. You can look back, and that's my perspective.
Right.
I'm speaking for anybody else, but you can go back and look. Every 10 years, there's something that's been in these people's life,
Yeah.
and I think this is ours.
And I don't know if there's really a solution.
Yeah.
There's going to be something
Because you're right, because people are sad or whatever. You take alcoholic beverage industry.
Oh, yeah.
People are going to drink when they're happy and when they're sad. And
Or when I'm just bored sometimes.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But you can send these folks to every rehabilitation place that exists on this planet. And until they want to stop, none of them are going to stop. Because like a lot of the drug users get out of prison. They're clean for the most part.
Right.
But they can't resist hanging out with their old friends.
Yeah.
And they get put into that, and a lot of them, instead of walking away, they got to continue hanging out with their same friends.
And they end up right back.
And they
back in
end up
there.
right back in there doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
Well, history will repeat itself, right? So you got grandma living in a free housing, right? Whose electric and water, all that's paid for, her food's paid for, right? Probably mom or her child is probably in prison for drugs, so she's left raising grandkids, right?
Yeah.
So grandkids go to school until they're 8th grade, 9th grade, and they realize that they don't want to go to school anymore. There's more money to be made out in the
Dropping
street.
out and doing their own thing on the
Right.
street. Yeah.
And then they're making all this money until they get caught. Well, then they're having kids.
Yeah.
Grandma dies. They move into grandma's house, and it's just the same cycle.
Yeah.
What's the incentive?
Money and no. There's no consequences.
No,
either,
what's
so-
the incentive to not do that?
to not
stop
yeah.
doing that.
What's the incentive to stop the cycle?
Yeah, but
guess-
they don't want. Okay, so I got another tough question.
They're not going to lose their house.
Right.
They're not going to not eat.
Well, there's that. So,
Right.
so there's no consequence.
Yeah.
Yes, that's my
Right.
point.
The
There's
incentive
no
to not do
consequence.
it would be being afraid of the consequences.
But there's not any.
Yeah. Okay, so how many? I know. How many violations?
talking to himself?
I know. I'm trying to phrase this question correctly.
I wish I was his earphone so I could hear that conversation going on in his head.
He's
We
talking
can
to
say
Chat
problems. Okay, if you're calling on a problem, or if the sheriff department is calling on a problem, or CPS is calling on a Department of Family Protective Services calling on a problem. Okay, how many problems are being called upon where there's a stable family that's actually functioning?
Like, never that never happens, right?
No, it does.
Oh, it does?
All the time. Anybody can call in a case on anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, what proportion? And to a large degree, my gamble, not being on your side of the coin necessarily, is that a lot of those instances lack a stable family unit.
Yes. Yes. But also,
Yeah, that's tough.
yeah, it's
I finally asked a tough question.
no, it's just very hard for me to give you answers without giving examples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I think what you're getting at too is we really don't know, because you could have a stable family, mom, dad, 2-3 kids, and everything from the out looking in looks great,
Yeah.
but mom's an alcoholic, or let's say mom's popping pills, dad's an alcoholic.
They're sick in some way.
The kid,
Yeah.
one of the kids is
Or-
smoking marijuana every
Yeah.
day. And that's another thing. They don't understand why some of these kids are having psychotic breaks. It's because the THC level in some of this marijuana is 100%.
Yeah, it's not our grandparents' weed anymore.
And but you just never know. I mean, I've dealt with millionaires
Yeah.
in my career.
Mm-hmm.
Now those are the ones that do this a lot by flapping their gums. I'll have your badge. I say, well, if you can wear it, have it. You know.
Yep.
But you're still going to jail.
Yeah.
And you just never know what. I mean, hell, we live in a society where people don't even know their next door neighbors, and they've lived in that. They've lived there next to each other for 10 years,
Yeah.
and not even spoke.
This is what I was going to say to answer the other side of your question, CPS part, right? You said how many calls, or what's proportion to good people or no problems,
A healthy
Sure.
household.
right?
Yeah.
You work in an office with a bunch of mandated reporters, correct?
Yes.
You know how many calls we get that are third, fourth, fifth hand information?
How many?
Several.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
I can't put a number on it, but a lot.
Wow.
Right. Because, oh my God, now I have this information.
I have to.
How
Yeah.
the hell do you filter that out?
But you have to weed through that.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
we have names. We don't even have dates of birth. We don't have addresses. We don't have a lot of this stuff. And we're supposed to look at this and take it seriously. We're like,
Yeah.
but every report that gets called in has to be investigated.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it could be a case that we've already investigated that somebody maybe potentially in your office has heard about.
Sure.
Also, it goes back to therapists as well, right?
Yeah.
This has been investigated. Brand new patient reports. This is what happened to me. Oh my God. Let's call it in.
Yeah.
You know?
That's wild.
Yeah. So usually statewide intake tries to do a good job. That's who answers the phone when it rings.
Yeah.
They try to do a good job about, okay, let's look real quick while we're on here.
Right.
But you know, if it's like real close, like, oh my God, did it happen again? Or this version of events is a little bit different than the last one. So let's send it out.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's better to check than not check.
Yeah.
Right.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
we don't want any child to ever
If you
be
didn't
suffering.
check something happened, then now you're facing neglect.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, you got to follow up with everything.
Yeah.
Savage Bro once caught me on a statement, and the more and more I think about it, the more correct it becomes. Often this is the case with Savage Bro. But we were driving along, and we're talking about people, and a couple came up, and I was like, yeah, it's like they're good people. They're good people, and I think they do things right. And he was like, yeah, but look at their kids. Oh man. And then I started thinking through that. I thought through it like probably over the years, and maybe have watched these people we were talking about develop or not. And I think he was right.
Yeah.
Now, everybody that Doc knows is going to be wondering, is it us?
I know, right?
Who are they talking about?
Yeah.
So there's only 27 listeners, right?
Well, maybe they don't listen to it.
But the behavior of the kids did kind of call the bluff on the family.
Well, I think watching children's behavior is a direct influence on the parent's ability to parent.
Wow.
And I agree with that because, like, and I was going to say this.
I mean, you
before,
said it.
but-
You said it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but like I can't tell you how many times. And I'm not
You have to agree.
necessarily bragging on me and the wife, but kind of am. But like I can't tell you how many times we've been out, and what I'm getting at is just we don't notice it because it's just normal to us. But like I can't tell you how many times that we've been come up and somebody tapped me on the shoulder and go, "Hey, excuse me, sir. I don't know what y'all are doing, but your kids are freaking amazing." I'm like,
Yeah.
You talking about my kids?
We're making them cut their
Yeah.
own switches.
Have you seen my kids?
Right.
But it's just normal stuff. They're
Meanwhile,
not.
in the restaurant, there's 13 other kids just running around different
Yeah,
tables.
and I think that's what it is. They just see my kids acting normal.
Mm-hmm.
They say thank you when somebody gives them something, or excuse me if they're in the way, and
that fear of God.
Well, and
it's a fear of something.
and the bottom line with that is you have parents that don't want to be their kids' parents. They want to be their
Be their
buddy,
friend.
their
Yeah.
friend. You got to be that parent
Oh yeah,
first.
yeah.
You know, my youngest is 30, my oldest is 35,
Mm-hmm.
and my wife and I, we told them, said, look, there's nothing you're going to try to get away with that we haven't done
Exactly.
already.
Yep.
If you somewhere and you don't need to be driving that truck,
Mm-hmm. Pick up the phone.
pick up the phone.
That's
we will
right.
never not come get you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying I won't. Your
Yeah,
butt
you might
won't
have
be.
to listen to it on the way home, but
Yeah, I'm not saying your butt won't be up at 6 a.m. the next morning,
Yeah.
but we will never not come and
right,
pick
Yeah.
you up.
Yeah.
for sure.
And you've got, yes, you are your kid's buddy, your friend, but you've got to be that parent first.
They need that.
Yeah.
Is there a mechanism of promoting that value in our society? I mean, theoretically, yeah, I don't know. It's within my family, you know, it's like my parents enforce that value.
Right.
Is you within my wife and I, and with my brother and his wife, and my other brother and his wife, my other brother Daryl. But yeah, is there a mechanism for promoting that?
Well, yeah, I think it's if your children are an investment to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you
Yeah.
should invest your time, as much money as you can, because everything costs money, right?
Right.
Especially your time,
Yeah.
right? And if they say, "Here's your iPad, go away,"
Yeah.
you're losing a little bit of that investment, right?
Absolutely.
So you don't. They're going to start paying attention to other things that do give them attention in any category, right?
And if they're going to be influenced by it, and you
Absolutely.
you're not
And
even
you've
gonna
already
know it.
lost them.
Yeah. So how do you convey to a kid that you should suffer the consequences if you misbehave or make a stupid decision, but the consequences that aren't going to harm you? The alternative is the consequences. You might lose your own life.
Yeah, so you've just butted up against something my wife and I have talked about and kind of instituted, but we enforce the consequences that are most proximal to the kid.
Yeah.
And so yeah, if that means like they are truly doing something dangerous, okay. Well, okay, let's put an example. So say my 14-year-old daughter, right, posts something online. Okay, well that's going to be a proximal consequence.
Okay.
Okay, say my 19-year-old daughter does. Well, that carries less of a significant problem.
Because
No, it doesn't.
I mean, it doesn't. No, and as a dad, I would say, "Oh no, that's not all right.
Yeah.
That's not all right." But it's potentially, I don't know.
But as a
there's some
14-year-old, you have to
relative
tell them
aspect to it.
why they're suffering the consequences, and
No, you got to shut it down.
yeah.
You got to
Well, no,
shut
I
it
think-
down
I
hard.
think-
Tell them why.
Yeah,
right?
you got to explain the
You know,
reason
you have to-
why it's a
yes.
bad consequence because they're only going to think you're being a dickhead.
Yeah, because all their friends are doing it.
Yes, exactly right.
but
that's
after you shut it down,
But that's
know?
the same. I mean, we've had to have this conversation with mine because I don't allow them any social media.
That's
Right.
And they're like,
fantastic.
well, all my friends are doing TikTok dances. And I said, well, I don't care. First of all,
Make your own up.
yep. I said, you're just not. And but I tell them the reasoning why of all
your friends are going to be in jail by 2025.
Or say it's
Or
not something
labeled.
online.
Yeah.
You know, say your daughter's going to a party and she walks out of her room. You're like, oh no, we're not wearing that.
Yeah.
We are not wearing that. Okay.
Well, I don't know. I think I like that one dad's. This was on TikTok or something though, but his fix to that was whatever his daughter came out in, he would put it on, and he says, "Okay, if you're wearing it out, I'm wearing it out with you."
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So I don't know if y'all have noticed, but every type of topic that y'all brought up, we've had something to say about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
you probably had to deal.
We're not just cops.
Right.
We're social workers. We're teachers. We're absent dads. We're absent moms sometimes.
Yeah.
We're everything that needs to be.
This is an important point.
Yeah,
No, it really is.
yeah, it is really.
Yeah.
And it's all learned on the job, right? Like a guy 2 years out of the academy is not going to handle a domestic disturbance the same way I've handled one,
Right.
Yeah.
right? Because I've been through divorces. I know what it's like, right? And he's just a 20-whatever-year-old or 23-year-old kid.
Right.
Well, the law says this. Well, just hang on a second, right? There's a lot of emotion. This is all emotional right now,
Yeah.
right? So, but we have to wear all these different hats,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be trying. And along with a pastor, you know, I don't know how many guys I prayed with. I don't know how many guys I've held their hand as they took their last breath.
Yeah.
You know,
And then that's always been a thing with me, and that's why I train my kids. And I train my kids. I mean, technically that's what I'm doing, but like I tell them. So like when I get pulled over, every window goes down, all the lights come on,
All the weed smoke goes out. Oh,
all the weed smoke goes out. No. And the first time I got pulled over with my kids, they're like, "Dad, what are you doing? Why are you rolling my window down?" I said, "All windows go down." I said, "And every light I can comes on." I said, "Because what you just said, y'all have to wear every hat, but that first hat you're going to have on is this
I'm going
dude
home.
about to shoot me?"
I'm
Yes.
going home.
So I said, if I can take that out of them and between that 20 feet from their car to my car, that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
Is I'm just making him okay.
And if it's nighttime, turn your interior light on.
Well, that's
Put
what
one hand out the window.
That's
one
what I
on the
meant
window.
by I turn all my
Yeah.
lights on. Every
Yeah.
light that can come on comes
Yeah.
on, and I tell them, I said,
You
that's-
never know if you've got a jumpy rookie.
Yeah, exactly.
And every parent that has skin in the game has had that conversation with their child.
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't care what your racial makeup is. Every parent has had that conversation with their child.
yeah,
And, you know, they've got to stop being their friend and be their parent,
that's right.
you know, because
Because if you're their parent when they need you to be, you're going to be their friend when they.
Right.
It's going to come back around.
both of my kids have asked me, says, "Why do you and mom worry about me?" I said, "Because you're our kid."
Yeah.
I
That's
said,
our job.
I said, "That's our job. That's a parent's job. I'm going to worry about y'all until the day they put me in a pine box."
Yep.
Yeah, you're damn right. And you don't understand
So-
that until you become a parent. And it's like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, mom and dad. Yeah, there's a little, I mean,
It lets up a little bit when they turn 18. You're no longer liable for them fucking up.
Yeah.
You're like,
It's like if you kick the bucket,
Yeah.
it's not on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not going to get sued if you run over somebody's mailbox or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? But okay, now you're on your own, but we'll support you.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll come see you.
Yeah.
Visiting hours.
Right.
yeah, I believe it's healthy for a kid to ask and question things, once they get older. But if you're a good parent and you can explain to them why
Yeah.
and help them through that phase, and then, when they do become a parent, then they really get it. Just really changes the perspective.
I think as soon as any child is at some age, and the parents will know when they're able to comprehend and have a discussion, right? I think discussion should start early.
Yeah.
Encourage them to ask questions,
Yeah.
right? Because, they're not learning, and who knows what they're learning at school, right?
Jeez. Yeah.
And so
Who
these
knows?
discussions, and it's not just do this because I said, baby, we wash the dishes so that we have a nice house when we're done in case somebody comes by, and we have clean dishes to eat when it's time to eat breakfast,
Yeah.
right? And we put our things up so that we don't get rats or what. I mean,
Yeah.
There's reasonings for
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
And I want my daughter to be a strong, independent person, but I also want her to have good core values.
Yeah.
It's like this is why we think the way we think, or we
Yeah.
act the way we act, or that we do what we do.
And that conversation, especially for the father, is going to be different.
Yeah.
Whether it's when you're talking to your daughter compared to your son. You know, I told my daughter, I said, I don't want you to ever have to depend on a man to take care of you, ever, in your life.
Right.
And I told both especially my son, when he started getting old enough where girls were starting, I said, look, any animal can procreate. Just because you make a baby doesn't make you a father. A father is made by what you do with that child
Amen.
while you're at home.
Amen.
And a lot of kids are screaming for that.
Yeah.
But what I tell them, I said, okay, I understand your dad's not in the picture. Let that be your catalyst to get out of your situation and be that better person.
Yeah.
Don't use that as a crutch or an excuse to be a drain on society.
Yeah. Bingo.
Yeah.
It was a 30-year-old man. I lost my dad when I was 33. He was never a bad person. He was an alcoholic, a lifelong alcoholic, but he was passive. And, you know, later in life, he was absent. But I remember getting to an age where I was like, I kind of missed my dad being that dad figure. Like I appreciated him as a friend and a buddy, but man, I really kind of needed that even coming into my 30s. Like I need that role model, that authority, or something to lean on. To, you know, help keep guiding you through life. And that's the perspective you get as you get older and more understanding of how to be a good human being.
I was 5 when I lost mine. Diabetes killed my dad. So when I was telling my story earlier, I talked about 2 different guys that I respected. They were my mentors, not just as cops, but as men.
Yeah. Mentorship. That's the best way to. Yeah,
and so I, whether it be in church or wherever, I would meet people and I would gravitate, right, to, I'm like, wow, I don't know what he's got, but I want some of that, you know?
Yeah, there's just that aura
Yeah.
about him. People can pick up on
But
it.
again, it's up to that individual to seek that out, right?
Yeah.
But if they're young enough, I mean, we got boys and girls clubs, right? I mean, there's how many different organizations in this country that are there to be mentors because of the absent father problem that we have.
You can't call them boys club no more, sir.
Well, I don't know what it is. Listen, but you know what I mean. I mean, there's mentorship programs throughout the country because there is a lack of father in the home.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, at any age. I mean, you lost yours at 5. I lost mine at 33.
14.
14. He still has his dad. He's privileged.
Yeah.
What about
Bastard?
I know.
Bastard.
I know. Mine was even dadding me yesterday.
Yeah. See, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
What about you? Still?
Mine was different. My mom was gone when I was 34.
Okay.
She passed away 2 days after her 54th birthday.
Yeah.
And didn't find out 2 years later. And I think this is why I'm still doing what I do, is because of her influence and what happened to her. She was actually murdered by my father.
Oh my God. Wow. Whoa.
But we didn't find this out till years later.
Yeah.
So me and my father were never close anyway. He was not a good man.
Okay.
I didn't learn a lot of the things that I hold dear to my heart from him. I learned from my mother
Your mom. Yeah.
and from some other male influences I had growing up.
Yeah.
So
Were they uncles or outside the family?
and uncle and 2 that come to mind were outside the family.
You sought them, or
Kinda,
kind of met them and just gravitated towards them.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yep.
It happens. And thank God for those guys.
Yeah.
And my mom's a great role model, but I think as you grow into being into manhood, a man,
Yeah.
man,
Hey, there's no manual when you're 16, right?
No,
Okay,
no,
look, your
no.
nuts are dropped, and here's what you got to do.
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's the
Good
same
luck.
for girls, right? Like they're going to eventually gravitate back towards their mother for
Right.
the motherly advice and that matriarchal bond, whatever it need to be. But
And the rebellious stage that we talked about earlier comes from, well, I'm not going to do all these rules. I don't have to. I got my little taste of freedom, right? Until you have your first run-in with consequence,
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Whether it be law enforcement getting
Or-
a ticket or,
or
a
credit
wreck
cards.
or credit card. Yes.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, you may get one at 18, but you may be 22 before you realize,
Yeah.
oh, shit.
Whoops. Yep. Got to make changes.
Yeah.
It happened.
Well, and that's just it. I went off to college and I'm sitting there going, I'm free. And then those bills start coming in.
Yeah.
And because I was paying the freight, not mom and dad.
Yeah.
And wow.
But it's everything. It's weight. It's body weight. I went to his office the other day and they put me on the scale. I'm like, God, but I need to make changes. Be more conscientious of what I put in my body, how I treat myself, because that influences people below me, children. You want to be the best you can be for the future generations. And myself. I wouldn't live past 70.
I had a guy tell me a long time ago, the best thing that you can leave your kids is an example.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the most valuable thing that you can give somebody is your time.
Amen to that. Time is priceless.
Yeah.
There's no dollar value for it.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful closing remark.
Because things are just things. Yeah. It's that being there. It's that one-on-one with your son or your daughter or both.
Your neighbor. Your peer. I'm in a peer support group in my department that, if something happens, then, if they reach out, then we can say, hey, because we've all kind of been through it, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk.
Yeah.
A friend of mine that I work with comes up to the chief with me. And at one point he had 4 fatalities on his workload. And I called him. I said, come on, let's go. He's like, oh, man. I said, come on, let's go.
Yeah. And
we don't sit at the bar. We sit in a chair and we talk it out. And you good? Yeah, I'm good. Okay, let's go.
Nice.
Well, and that's just it. With law enforcement, you keep a lot of things. There's stuff that you don't tell your wife. Your kids don't need to know about.
Yeah.
It's not important.
You're compartmentalizing it.
Yeah.
But especially early on in my career, you didn't go because, the department will pay for it. If you need to go talk to somebody, that didn't happen because you were afraid it would get back.
Yeah.
And you would be labeled or they'd find a way to.
Yeah, there's a huge stigma on it back in the day.
Sure.
I think it's not as much anymore.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. People have to have a way to let out what they've internalized and compartmentalized.
Yeah.
You have
Outlet.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have that outlet. Otherwise
I work in an office full of women.
you're less of a person, right? That chips away at you.
Well, and my thought process, and I'm only going to speak for myself, was that like I didn't want to go and maybe possibly put on Xanax or whatever because what if I was in a shooting?
Oh yeah.
And then all that gets brought up, and I don't know what type of stigma there is in the legal community about that, but I didn't want it.
Yeah, there goes your livelihood. Oh well, he was medicated, and we can't hire him anymore.
Right. So you just suffer through it and suffer in silence, or whatever.
Yeah, I think that stigma's. I think it's on the precipice of being.
Well, I know the mental health. The mental health, as far as police officers go, is improving.
Yeah.
Meaning, maybe not improving, but there's.
More attention.
T-Cole just came out with a peer support network app, that where you could reach out to and say, hey, guys, I need to talk about this or whatever. And I think agencies have designated people that they can reach out to. And I talked to a lieutenant from a neighboring department the other day, and I said, look, any of your young guys want to talk, tell them to give them my number.
Yeah.
Just because I've been through a lot of stuff too, So on and out the job.
Good networking and good. Yeah, I can't think of the right term for it right now, but you're helping each other out.
Well, we try to. Yeah.
And the deal is, we may not see each other every day of the week, but we know that I know if I need something, I can call Barney, and he knows if he needs something, he can call me or whoever. And you don't get that in a lot of professions, if you will. And maybe that is because of what doesn't make us special by any means,
but the stuff that you have to do,
but what we deal with.
Yeah.
Like you said, you have to hold somebody's hand, or you have to deal with a kid being hurt real bad or killed or something like that. And the part of the job, whether any type of law enforcement, whether it's a constable, as a sheriff, or as a deputy or a police officer, it's giving back
to
the community.
Service.
It's that service again. You got to protect and serve, but I can't tell you how many tires I've changed in my career, or how many people I've given a ride to because their car broke down, or they were walking and it's 110 degrees outside. That's part of being in law enforcement.
Amen. Yeah.
It's not about, like I said, it's not all about handcuffs and tickets.
Right.
But a a lot of people see it as that.
Yeah.
I remember one time, I don't remember what I did, but I remember being back in the patrol room and said, damn, I actually got to help somebody today. You know?
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
You don't have to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
It's something that, brings you back to a human level.
And I think at some point, my brother being a police officer, but it comes, the profession comes back around, and you start feeling that side of the coin a little more.
Yeah.
And
the older you get.
Yeah. It might be
because the more
10
you
years,
recognize.
it might be 20 years.
Yeah.
But you start recognizing that there is an art in that.
And the more involved you get with your community, they have, when you're able to talk to them and on a human level, they're like, these people are an integral part of the community. The community doesn't exist.
And vice versa.
Yeah. Same.
Right?
Yeah.
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 I think that's been our coin phrase for the last few episodes, is like just rehumanizing people that that should be seen.
Or just stop it right there, just rehumanizing people.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. Because not everybody you encounter on a call is a piece of shit.
No. Yeah.
True. There are some.
Yeah, there are some.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm whooped.
Guys, thank y'all.
That's 3
That was
hours.
awesome, man.
Is it?
This
Oh
is
my God.
This is some Joe Rogan stuff right here.
Crap.
I
We
think
got
that's-
some deep.
I didn't
Deep
know it was that. I
conversation.
didn't know it was that.
It goes fast.
It does.
It does. I hope we didn't bore y'all.
No, and I want to
No.
say something real quick before we go. This whole thing that we've done, get to know your local elected officials, it's really opened my eyes, and it's crazy because, and you guys might be the last one. Unless we reach out to somebody else, but
Joe Biden might come on.
yeah, Joe
He
Biden
might.
might. We're still waiting on his phone
Waiting
call.
for that.
Yeah.
I want to sit right over there with access to a mic.
We told them, but I don't know if they forgot.
But it's really blown my mind a little bit. And doing these podcasts every once in a while, you get wore down, and you're like, man, I don't know if I want even want to mess with it anymore. But then stuff like this happens to when you bring a constable on to talk about what you do, and then you go down the rabbit hole of what we just went through, man. So it's really cool to bring you guys on, and I hope we can get this out to as many people as possible, because I hope it does what bringing you guys, not to necessarily you two guys, but the majority of people that we've brought on. We've really been able to, I think, humanize that role or that position. So I mean, it's been really cool to go through that journey with all you guys. So, man, it's been awesome.
Yep, I do. It takes all of us. It takes everybody to make everything work right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have any philosophical closing remarks or anything you'd like to say? Any wisdom from many moons of being in the job?
Before we do close, I did something just clicked in my mind. How in your position, you see you got another 2 more years?
I'm up for re-election now.
Now.
Oh,
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, I'm on the ballot.
oh,
right
okay.
now.
I
Awesome.
can't vote for him, though. I'm precinct 2.
Yeah.
Right.
Is anybody opposing you?
No.
Nice.
Okay, so you...
In
Welcome
fact,
back, Constable.
all 4 of us are up for election, and nobody has an opponent.
Okay.
All 4 constables.
Awesome.
Who are the other 3?
Precinct 1 right now is Rex Hoskins.
Okay.
When his term ends, it will be Greg.
I thought his term was ending because he's running for sheriff.
He
Leveling.
is.
Greg. Yeah, once his term ends
Okay.
this coming January, then it'll be Greg Leveling.
Okay.
Precinct 2 is Galen Wiley.
Okay.
I'm in precinct 3, and then Kevin Huffman's in 4.
Okay.
Shout out, Kevin. Hey,
And Kevin,
boss man.
And Kevin's is the county's most senior constable. This will be his 5th term.
Oh, wow. And what are we in? Out here?
2.
Two.
Yeah, we're in 2. There you go. If you see any of those constables out on the town, stop and say hello to them. Ask them how the day is going. Just strike up a conversation.
Yeah.
That's always welcome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. All
Thank
right.
you, guys. I appreciate it.
Heck yeah, man.
Thank
It was
y'all.
awesome.
Thank y'all.
Holy
Fun.
cow!
Bet.
What a
Yep.
freaking great episode! 3 hours in. Is this
I think it's the record. That's the longest one so far.
Longest video.
I think y'all beat the sheriff.
Well,
so.
here's the thing. We'll find out when the edited version comes out. If it's only an
It might be an hour and a half.
Excuse me. We don't do any editing. Sir.
Oh, that's right.
only if
I
requested.
do have that one time marked down. If you decide you want to.
Yeah.
I think it'll be all right.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to worry about it.
No, I think it'll be all right.
I think it's good.
All right, guys,
That's it
man.
for us.
It
Thanks
was
for
awesome.
listening. Good night.
Adios.
You've
Peace.
listened to the Whiskey Bros Around the Table. gracias por convivir con los hermanos Whiskey.